What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Random Encounter Podcast, episode 171. I'm your host, James, and I am joined by the Gesture Master, the Dominant, Bryant.
I'll be the dress sphere master once it's like spring, summer here a little bit more because right now it's like really cold
I
where
was gonna
I'm
say, is
in
it
right
still
now.
still cold over there?
Yeah, it's like it's like I don't know, like upper 30s, lower 40s right now, and in my basement, which is where I'm at right now, it's like
Mm-hmm.
I mean my house is heated obviously, but it's like it's way colder in my basement than it is um upstairs. So I don't want to wear
Gotcha.
a t-shirt down here because I'll be freezing. So once it's like hot out again and I have the AC running, then I'll be like, I have to wear a t-shirt down here. So I'll be back to being the dress sphere master. It's just a seasonal role, apparently. But I'm live from Helios.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, it's already started getting hot over here. I was outside, took the kids to the park today, and it's burning up. I was sweating. I basically I had to find shade in the park because it was just too hot for me. I feel like I got like a sunburn on the back of my neck from that. Uh,
I thought you I thought you Florida folks have like that stuff. Like I thought you would be what do you call it? Desensitized to the heat by now.
Not me. No, I
Not you. Okay.
still need to be in cool weather. Like I basically I love staying indoors until it gets cool again. Once we start getting back into the 70s. And so yeah. Anyways, there wasn't much that happened this week out there. There's, a little bit of news here and there, but not a lot. So we do have a fun main topic to talk about. I was hoping to get a little bit more people to join us, but today is probably just gonna be me and Bryant, maybe Ash if he joins a little bit later on, and Fan if he can make it later on as well. But as always, before we begin, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Follow over on Twitch, and I do want to follow up on some rumors. So remember a couple weeks ago we talked about basically what it's looking to be where PS5 is kind of like going back to almost that exclusive initiative. I just think it's kind of weird that it seems to be a little bit of back and forth in a lot of different places, where some people are speculating that no, they are actually going full forward. For example, Nixus, which we know does a lot of the PC ports, they just updated their website and like basically what they do. And they actually put the term that their job is to really create high quality PC ports for PlayStation, which I thought was kind of interesting, and it has people speculating, oh, maybe Sony is going all in, and maybe the removal of the cross buy and everything like that was just because they are technically not going to use Steam anymore as their go-to for like the PC games, but they're going to have their own PlayStation launcher, which I thought was the case. Um, but Jason Schreier, of course, did mention saying that PlayStation was specifically going to focus on single player games exclusive to PS5. And they did say that Ghost of Yote and Wolverine were not coming to PC at all. So I think it's kind of interesting where we're at when it comes to this situation. It's like a little bit of back and forth. Like, what are you thinking, Brian? Do you think that single player games are going to be stuck on PlayStation from here on out, and they're going to go back a little bit to their roots?
You mean like as far as the PC stuff goes?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I think kind of the canary in the coal mine is the fact that they seem rather adamant that Saros is going to be exclusive to PS5.
Hmm.
You would think that would be the game that, if anything, they would say no comment, and then 9 months from now they would release that since they released Returnal on PC at some point. I do think that there is a shifting strategy going forward that these games that are like PS5. I don't wanna say royalty, but just kind of like the things that make PlayStation, like your Demon Souls, your,
Yeah.
Returnals, your Spider-Mans, your Wolverines, they're from now on, I do believe that they're gonna be staying more or less on PlayStation. Um, like I said, I think Returnal is probably the biggest key to that, and if, like, you don't see that and Wolverine coming to PC eventually, because I think Wolverine would sell like crazy on PC eventually.
Hmm.
I think you kind of have your answer for where their heads at going forward with the PC strategy. So, I mean, I think it's good that they're kind of keeping over on their own side as far as keeping things to console because they don't want to fall into the Xbox trap where everything is an Xbox, therefore nothing's an Xbox. If PlayStation software is available everywhere, then what is PlayStation then except just a non-PC way to play things? And I'm not necessarily against selective things coming to PC. But it's just you got to try to keep the ecosystem special. Otherwise, you're going to end up just like Microsoft and Xbox.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's funny when you go back on that nostalgia trip or like memory lane, and I think about, certain games, especially when they're coming to like modern platforms, Mega Man Star Force being an example, how in order to play that game back then, you had to have a DS. If you didn't have a DS, you were not playing that game. And that kind of, made you buy a DS. And, some people hate that, like, oh, why do I have to buy this to enjoy whatever I like? And to me, I think that's kind of like, why not? It seems kind of you're I don't know what's the right word, like it's kind of weird. It sounds like I'm defending these companies, right? But it does feel kind of like in a sense where it's like, I don't know, like you want everything to come to you. Like why you don't want to follow anything, you want everything to come to you. And I think in the sense of how these games were created, especially in the beginning, and how like we saw games evolve and innovate, it was it was fine, and I thought it was great to have these companies kinda strive to win you over, because that's how we had all these high quality games. If nobody is trying to win you over, they're just gonna meet you where you're at. You're not gonna get that high quality type of stuff, versus if you're trying to get people to your platform, you're gonna do that. A great way is kind of like, like when I do videos or we do these podcasts, right? Like I wanted to be that, hey, to get an experience, to get something that we have, you have to come watch us, right? If that wasn't the case, then like, I mean, you might as well just watch any other podcast and it'll be the same exact talk. But we try to do a little bit, things a little bit different. We try to be a little bit more not bought out, I guess you could say. Like, we tell it how it is and we speak our mind on things. And that's just kind of like how it is, right? You're not gonna have everybody talk about the same thing. Everybody's kind of gonna go and, pick their topics and go there. So in the sense of these consoles, it's the same thing. I would like PlayStation to go back to their roots. Give me a reason to own a PS5. I've been playing the PS5 currently, playing Final Fantasy 16. I was actually hoping to finish it last night, and when I thought I was at the final boss, I realized I wasn't. So I got to the part where you're fighting Ultima, he transforms, and you beat him, and then now he's like, he goes to I forgot what that place is. The place in the middle where it's like the town in the middle, like, he raises it up in the sky, and, like, there's, like, a crystal in the sky now. So I'm there. So I assume that's probably the final boss
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know you were playing it so actively. That's cool. You're almost done with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I was trying to
Nice.
push myself to finish it. I was like, "You know what? I'm at the end." And I was hoping, I
Good.
wanted it to be a surprise. I was hoping to finish it last night, but it was, like,
Mm.
1:30 in the morning after I beat it. I was like, "You know what? I don't feel like doing this right now." Just in case if there's, like, another thing that I have
You're
to
so
do after. I
close.
was like, "That's
You'll
it."
be done with it by next weekend. You'll be done with it by next weekend.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm probably gonna play a little bit tonight too, hopefully. If that is
Yeah,
the final part, and if
it
that
is.
if that part is just the boss, then I'll probably beat it tonight then, uh,
Okay.
just to get that over with. But it's one of those things like replaying the PS5. Like, yes, Final Fantasy 16 I also have on PC, but in the beginning for me to play it, it was only available on PS5. So I bought it on PS5 and I was able to enjoy, the time I had with it. Same thing with, Rebirth remake being on PS4 and then eventually PS5 and so forth. Like those gave me reasons to own the PS5. And as the generation progressed, it kind of, to me, it felt like, oh, well, there's less of a reason to own a PS5. Like, why do I have it? Like, honestly, as I sit here and play Final Fantasy 16, and really the only reason I'm playing 16 on PS5 over PC is because I was a lot further already on
Mm.
PS5 versus PC, right? Because if not, I would have played it on PC because it definitely looks way better graphically speaking on my 5070 than it does on the PS5.
That's a
Uh,
game that would be great to have a PS5 Pro patch, like,
oh
sincerely.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was hoping like it would somehow brute force its way, and no, even with the PS5 Pro and like those little toggles turned on, it's still
No.
yeah, like, it still stutters here and there, even though it's, like, 60 FPS, like, it still stutters, but I 100% agree, like, that game would probably look way more amazing than it already looks great, like, it does look great
Mhm.
on the PS5 already, but it would probably look way more amazing than what it does right now, because it looks amazing on the 5070 when I was playing. That was, like, the first game I think I tested on the 5070. I was like, "Wow, this game looks just so gorgeous," was awesome. But yeah. Uh Next bit, a little bit of small news there is game key cards. We might actually be getting less of them because it seems like a lot of the new games that are coming out are not going to be game key cards. For example, Trails in the Sky second chapter has just we already know is announced, but it's officially revealed that it will not be a game key card. It will actually be a real
Wow.
cartridge. Yeah. And that's not the only one. So there's a Twitter page. I don't know if you're following this at all, Brian. It's funny. It's called Is Game Key Card. I don't know if they were trying to say, is it a game key card? But yeah, it's called Is Game Key Card. And they kind of give like updates on games when they're officially announced for physical release. And they'll say if it's a game key card. For example, the Rogue Prince of Persia will be distributing as a game key card, unfortunately. But when you look back at it, Trails in the Sky second chapter, an actual cartridge. Another Eden Begins, an actual cartridge. Um, Rataton, which is basically the Patapon like spiritual successor, is also a real cartridge. So these are a
Mm,
bunch of games that are actually going to be real cartridges and not just game key cards. There's another one, Truxton Extreme, is which I believe they announced. I want to say that was the game that was officially announced that they were going to be a physical game key, and they were the one that leaked that Nintendo was coming out with smaller cartridges overall. But yeah, those are just a few games that were announced recently that will not be game key cards. So I think that's pretty cool to see that there will be actual cartridges. Super Meat Boy 3D is another one that will be an actual cartridge. And yeah, the list goes on. There's a lot of newer games that will be actual cartridges, which is awesome. So
yeah, I think that's cool for the folks that buy physical, but since I don't buy anything physical, it doesn't really matter to me. But that's cool
yeah.
for those that do.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think I appreciate it. Like I'm in that point now too where I kind of like don't care. Because I would assume that by the time Nintendo servers were to go down and I can't download these games, emulation for Switch 2 would be available and I could just emulate it on whatever handheld is there in the future, right? Kind of like what I do with my old stuff. But yeah, it is nice to see that physical game keys are gonna be available again, or they're gonna be more, how can I put it? There's gonna be a lot more of them versus everything being a game key card, which is pretty awesome. All right, let's go ahead and have some fun today. I was mentioning Final Fantasy
Ooh.
16, and as I'm playing Final Fantasy 16, it just was bringing back memories. And between that, I also played Theatrhythm Final Fantasy
Mm.
recently, and I've also been playing Dissidia Final Fantasy again. I mentioned that like a while back. Sometime last year, I was mentioning that I was playing that again. We even did an episode on Dissidia Final Fantasy, asking if we would buy another one. But it just had me rethinking my first experience of Final Fantasy. Also, shout out to the Geek Show. I was trying to get him to join us on today's podcast, but he's not feeling well. He does the archives, and every Friday he has what's called Final Fantasy Friday. And usually before I start the stream and a little bit after I end the stream, I watch his archives, and he's playing through Final Fantasy. So the whole, I think it's like 3 hours he does it, is all Final Fantasy. So he's playing Final Fantasy 7, um, 9, 16. I don't know if he's playing 8. I think he has 8 on there. And what else? And another one. I just can't think of what other one he has. Oh, 12. He has 12 on the block. But it just, started making me think of like my first experiences with Final Fantasy. So let's start with you, Brian. What was your first Final Fantasy? Like, how did you get into the series?
I remember it very, very vividly. I was at what was Software Etc. at the time. I was probably like 12, 11, or 12 years old. Hold on, I got a cough. 1 second.
No worries.
Um, and there was a guy there that was playing the demo for Final Fantasy VIII in Japanese, and I was watching him play it. I'm like, what is this? And he's explaining to me that it was Final Fantasy VIII demo. And I was like, well, how are you able to do it in Japanese? And he explained to me that he could read Japanese and he'd been
Mm,
to Japan a bunch or something. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, is this the game that has like the dude with the huge sword that I've seen a lot of? He's like, no, that's Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. And then he kind of just like went into I think he like took Final Fantasy VIII out of the PlayStation and put 7 in and just like started playing like the opening bombing mission. And
mhm.
I'll never forget, like, he was playing through it, and then it gets to that scene in the I want to say it's in the elevator, and Barrett walks inside of Cloud. I'm like, what the hell is that? Why is he walking inside of him? What does that mean? He's like, oh, that just means that he's joined your party. I'm like, what the hell is a party? Um, and so, he showed me what the battle scenes look like and how much better it looks in battles and everything. And he was just kind of going through it. And then he got to, he was just kind of explaining the mechanics and stuff. And he's like, yeah, then there's this scene where Cloud, and my mom was there too. And he's like, then there's this scene where Cloud has to go to this brothel and he has to dress up as a girl to get Don Corneo to choose him to do whatever, and my mom's kind of I'm like what, and then my mom's just kind of like, yeah, cool, that's cool, whatever. um and we walked down, she's like, yeah, I don't know if you'd be into that game. It sounds maybe it sounds too old for you, like you might just want to stick to Mario. And I don't think it's because, I mean, I was like 13, 14. I was starting to get to the age where one learns about those things, but
Yeah.
um it, I was just kind of, it kind of just sparked something in me where like, that sounds like kind of interesting, like the story sounds interesting and the fighting and the sword and all that stuff. And then eventually there was like that summer, I want to say maybe like the summer between 6th and 7th grade or something like
Mhm.
that. um I saw Final Fantasy because I didn't have a PlayStation when I was in 6th or 7th grade. So I saw the box for Final Fantasy 7 at the Office Depot across the street from me, and it was this big triangle box, and it was very striking. Like the art on the
Mm.
front of it was very striking, and I'm like, oh, that's that game that guy showed me, last year or whatever. And I bought it for PC. And now the funny thing is that my PC was this piece of garbage E-machines computer that could like maybe run Minesweeper and that's it. And I installed it on there, and notoriously the PC port, the IDOS one for Final Fantasy VII was very um, lackluster.
Yeah.
It was kind of janky. It was prone to freezing and crashing and stuff like that. And I had it, and my dad was kind of a psycho, and he thought that every time the game crashed, like the computer was getting broken. Like every time, like the computer's getting more and more damaged and stuff like that. Um, and so, but I kept, strike going through it. Like I just wouldn't tell him if the game would crash. I'd just turn the computer off and turn it back on. But like the worst would be if I was in the middle of something and my game crashed and I didn't save for a long time. Like that would really suck. But that really sparked my love of Final Fantasy VII, was going through that game. I never beat it on PC. I got really far in it, but I just never did, just because I don't know if I got too frustrated over the constant
Mhm.
freezing and stuff like that. And then by the time Final Fantasy VIII came out in 1999 in North America, I did have a PlayStation at that point. I want to say I got it that spring. I want to say like April, May, and then Final Fantasy VIII came out famously September 9th, 1999, the same day that the Dreamcast came out. And I had my PlayStation at that point, and I remember getting it, and my parents like went on a trip, and I was at my grandparents' house, and I stayed up like really late playing it by myself, and that game was really special because it was the first time I played a Final Fantasy game that um, like I was playing with everybody else, because by the time I got to 7, it was kind of old news in the gaming universe. Like I just kind of heard about it, but when I was playing 8, like it was a brand new thing. And I really liked how the models looked. They didn't look like little deformed Lego figures anymore. They actually look like human beings to an extent. The CG was beautiful. Walls for the Moon with the dancing, and the whole junction system was a little difficult to wrap my mind around. One of the critiques of Fantasy VIII was uh, how long the Guardian Force animations were, and that you couldn't skip through them. And
Yeah.
you think of that famous one. I think it's called Eden, and it's just very long, and you keep using those summons and everything, and it just takes a long time. But those are my earliest memories of getting into Final Fantasy, were the PlayStation ones, because I really was kind of I'm borderline too young to get into it when like 6 came out on Super Nintendo, or maybe not even too young. It just didn't interest me at the time. Like I was more interested in like Mega Man and Mario and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that's
same
kind of
thing.
where that came from.
Yeah, I was the same way, like, Super Nintendo, I skipped Final Fantasy completely. RPGs in general just weren't my cup of tea. But to defend Final Fantasy VIII, which I usually don't do much, the cutscenes made sense for them being long because the boost mechanic, right? So you have to
Yeah,
like
right.
while it's
Yep.
going through, you have to tap on it. So it makes
Press
sense.
square. Yep.
Yeah, if you were to skip it, you would not be able to boost your damage or anything like that.
Right.
Which is cool. Fun fact, I think I mentioned it before on the podcast. I had a controller that had a turbo mode, like the coolest controller ever. It had like a display on the top, and you would choose like you hit the turbo button to press whatever button, and when turbo was active, it would show you on the display if which button it was active for, which was kind of cool. So I would just press square and hold it, and it would just do it for me. So I would always max out. I think it was like 300% you can get for the boost, if I remember correctly. So I would always max it out for that.
Yeah, but the problem though is that you have to take those, like, stops, like, there's stops that you have
Correct.
to, like, not do it, and then if you did it, it would reset, so how did you account for that?
Yeah, so the way the turbo worked on the controller is you press and hold, and it mashes it
Mhm.
for you, and then you let go
And then when
when
you
it
see
stops.
it stops, gotcha.
Yeah, which was kinda cool, and to this day, I don't think any other turbo, mode on a controller works like that. I
Mm.
think that's the only one that I know of, 'cause it was really cool, like, it helped me a lot in Final Fantasy VIII. That was kind of, like, how I was able to get to the end. Didn't get to beat it because my brother wrote over my save file, but, it's how I
Wait,
got to
for
the
8
end.
for you?
Yeah, so
That's the same thing for me because I got a Game Shark because I could not beat 8, and I really wanted to see what happened in the story, and so I put a Game Shark in just because that was back before YouTube, obviously, so I
Yep.
couldn't just because I was so desperate to see the end, and I couldn't beat Ultimecia, and so I'm like, "Screw it, I'm just gonna buy a Game Shark, I'm gonna see what the ending is, and then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do it for real," but I can't deal with this anymore, like, not seeing what the ending is, and so I did it, and I saw the ending, but unfortunately, the Game Shark injected all of the, like, infinite everything that I put in, and I couldn't get rid of that, and so, like, I had a permanently cheated Final Fantasy VIII save file that, like, I couldn't do it for real anymore, and so that kinda ruined it, but then I ended up doing it for real, a few years ago, and I platinumed it on, PlayStation 4 on the, remastered port, but anyway,
Oh,
continue.
nice. Yeah, no, my brother, so I got to the part trying to remember. I think it's, no, it's not that. I think I beat that. I don't remember. It was right before you go to Ultimecia's, like, castle. Like, there was a boss before that. I got to that part, and I had saved it, and me and my brother, we had separate memory cards. And I don't know, maybe he wasn't paying attention, but when he kept my memory card in, or I think he swapped our memory cards, and he put me in 2 and 1, and he put himself in 1, something like that. And all I know is he wrote over my file, and I got so upset because that wasn't the
Oh, yeah,
first game he did
absolutely.
that to. That was the
Yeah.
second game he did that to. The other one was
What
Chrono
was the other one?
Cross.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Chrono Cross, he did it too, and I was so upset with Chrono Cross too. I was like, "Come on, man, like,
It's not
all
like
this
it's
time."
like Tamba or something, like, where it's a game you can kinda get your progress back in a few hours. Like Final
Yeah.
Fantasy, is tens of hours, like, you could
Yep.
be 50, 60 hours into it, and your brother overwrites your save. It's like, "Okay, well, I guess that's that."
Yep, exactly. But, my first Final Fantasy experience was 7 as well. I remember going in the same thing, kind of in a game store. I went to GameStop, and they had Final Fantasy 7 on the demo, and I remember people were, like, all around and looking at it. Same thing, the opening, the bombing mission, how that was, that how cinematic it looked at the time. But then I remember when people, like, the crowd died down, they went away, I went ahead and went to play it, and I'm moving around. It's like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? So I'm running around, blah blah blah, moving around through Midgard, and then I get to a place where I get to battle. I was like, what is this? And I see
Why
there's
are
like
they
a menu
waiting?
pops up. Yeah, and I'm like, why can't I just jump around and like
Right.
attack and do these things? And in my head, like I knew there were games that can do this because I was playing Brave Fencer Musashi, which is a game that is also an RPG that allows you to do that stuff. So I was like, huh, like why can't I do any of these things? And, to kind of put it in this perspective, Final Fantasy 7 was already out for some time because Brave Fencer Musashi came out, I think, a year or two later. So it was already out. They just had it there on display or whatever. So once I played it, I was like, you know what? I don't think this is for me. I think this is kind of stupid that they're all just waiting and that. So I didn't play any turn-based RPG after that. I remember the games I would play. I don't even remember what I was playing on PS1. Like Crash Bandicoot for sure, Spyro for sure. I was playing that. Street Fighter Alpha 2, of course, was obsessed with Street Fighter. Still am. But I was playing a lot of Street Fighter, Tekken, and then Gran Turismo. Like those were the main things I was playing. That was it. Then a friend of mine's finally like opened my eyes to RPGs because we loved anime. We always watched Toonami. We watched the Toonami After Midnight. It had a specific name before it became Adult Swim, where they had like Gundam and Yu Yu Hakusho and stuff like that at midnight. And he came over and showed me one of my favorite games ever made, Breath of Fire 4. He's like, "Look at this cool game. It's like an anime, but you play as these characters." I was like, "Really?" Played Breath of Fire 4, got obsessed. Then after he beat Breath of Fire
Real
4.
quick,
Yeah.
Was it
Go ahead.
called the Toonami Midnight Run?
Oh, yeah, I think it was Toonami Midnight Run. Yeah, that's what it
Okay.
was. Um, yeah, so after he beat Breath of Fire 4, he lent it to me, and then the next game he picked up was Final Fantasy 7 because he liked the way Cloud looked. He's like, "Oh, man, this guy looks cool. He looks like a Super Saiyan, and he has a giant sword," and, that was the way he described it. I was like, "Oh, a Super Saiyan? You got me with Super Saiyan right there," because I was, obsessed with Dragon Ball. Um, so he went and got it and then showed me it, and as he's playing, I think I stood over his house or something. As he's playing it, I'm like, "Wait a minute, this is the game that I hated. Like, why are you playing this game that I hate?" He went on and kept playing and playing, and eventually I actually started liking it because, of course, I loved Breath of Fire 4. And I was like, "You know what? After I beat Breath of Fire 4, I'm gonna go ahead and try out Final Fantasy 7." And of course I did, and eventually I fell in love with it. Real quick, Your Demise, what's up? Welcome to the podcast. PSX was the most mind-blowing jump in console graphics. Um, ye mm, what do you think about
Uh,
that, Brian?
I would say PS2 to like the jump from PS1 to PS2 was a lot bigger because honestly, early PS1 games were really ugly.
Yeah,
Like even if they were in 3D, I don't necessarily think they looked that great. Like even at the time, I think a lot of the times the impressiveness of it
yeah,
wasn't based in how it looked. It was more in like, oh, I'm in 3D, like seeing Mario 64 for the first time and running around. I guess one could say like Pilot Wings was kind of like, whoa, this is like a huge space with mountains and you can fly
yeah,
around and go anywhere. But again, eh, it wasn't about like a lifelike thing necessarily. It wasn't that
yeah,
the graphics were like that amazing. It wasn't until like later in the generation, but by that point, it wasn't really about the jump from SNES to N64 anymore. But from the best looking PlayStation game to the first generation of PS2 games, I want to say that's probably the biggest jump ever. Because even from like the best looking PS2 game to like the first generation of PS3 games, like it was a little bit of a jump. But if you look at like Resistance Fall of Man
yeah.
compared to like I'm trying to think of like a prolific PS2 shooter,
I mean, Battlefield
like
2 at the time looked great, or Metal Gear
yeah,
Solid
sure.
2. I mean, Metal Gear Solid 2 or
Yeah, like
3. Like,
it's not that much better. If
yeah,
anything, I would say Metal Gear Solid might even look better than Metal Gear Solid 2. Sons of Liberty might look better than Resistance Fall of Man.
yeah.
So, I really think the PS1 to PS2 generation or the N64 to GameCube generation that was the biggest jump.
Hmm. And then Imperial Cereal, what's up? Welcome to the podcast. He says, catch the whale with a spoon. And he says, can't forget Outlaw Star and Trigun. Yes, loved Outlaw Star and Trigun. Both. Haven't watched the remake of Trigun, or I don't know if it's a remake or like a redo, whatever it is. Let's see.
Trigun Stampede, I think it's called.
Trigun is the name of the anime. Vash Stampede was the main character. Yep.
No, isn't the new version of Trigun called Trigun Stampede?
Oh, is
Like the
it?
new like reboot or whatever?
Oh,
I thought it
I
was.
don't
Let me look
know.
it up.
I didn't know I had like a little like sub name, subtitle, or whatever you want to call it on there. And then it says I
Yep, Trigun
what's
Stampede. It came
okay.
out in 2023.
And then I don't know how to say your name. Something bot devil 1897. Says Toonami was the she, Cowboy Bebop, Inuyasha, and Full Metal Alchemist. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Can't forget any of those
That's where I saw Cowboy
animes.
Bebop for the first time, for
Yep,
sure.
same here, same here. It says the goats for obscure animes for sure. Yeah, like I've been wanting to rewatch Outlaw Star, which is funny because I remember watching that as a kid a lot. Like that would be our routine is we would play when I would be at my friend's house, we would play like whether it's Final Fantasy, Breath of Fire, whatever the case might be, whatever game we were playing at that time. And then by the time it hit midnight, we stopped and we watch, the midnight run and all that stuff. Specifically Gundam, because we were obsessed with Gundam. So we watched the like Gundam Wing Uncut. And then they had all the other ones. They had like 08 MS Team and all the other like Gundam stories that they had there as well. Must not have spent much time in the arcades. Oh no, arcades. I spent a lot of times in the arcades. Like if we're comparing like arcade graphics to PlayStation graphics, and of course, yeah, they were a night and day difference. I mean, the Dreamcast was really the first console to me that's like, wow, and of course they marketed it as arcade graphics at your house. But playing games like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on Dreamcast was mind blowing because it's like, wow, this is the same game I play in the arcade. So
Yeah,
for
I mean,
sure.
that fits with what I was saying, like, going from the Saturn to the Dreamcast, going from the N64 to the GameCube, going from the PS1 to the PS2, that's all that same
Mhm.
generation.
Yeah, and then Piercer says Black, the PS2 shooter. Don't
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that one.
I
Yeah,
remember that game.
when
I
we're
think
talking
it's a
about
EA game.
graphics. Is it a EA
Yeah.
game? Okay.
Mhm.
Um, it says, "Bro, Imperial is base AF, Black Gauntlet, and that monster fighting game. First time seeing Tekken Tag Tournament in the arcade was, yeah, like
Yeah, and
Tekken
then
Tag
bringing
Tournament
home
was
Tekken Tag
huge.
Tournament on PS2. Yeah, that was incredible doing that. I mean, that's kind of in my opinion, like, I think that generation, the PS2, Dreamcast, GameCube generation, Xbox further down the line, or not GameCube, and
Yeah,
GameCube,
GameCube, PS2,
Xbox, PlayStation 2, and
yeah,
yeah, that's like where the beginning of the end was, I think, for arcades, because that's when the
hmm
graphics really started to go into parity with what the arcades were looking like, and that
yeah,
was kind of the main draw of arcades, was that you got to go there and see these games running in 60 frames per second, and it was just so much more detailed. It was an experience you couldn't get at home. But then as soon as those consoles came out and you could have like a near perfect arcade port of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and all the rest of the games that are
yeah,
arcade game, because that's the cool thing about Dreamcast. That thing was an arcade machine. Um, that's kind of where arcades became less and less important, and then
yeah,
that just kind of wore on as the consoles got more powerful, and then couple that with the online functionality, and then it started being even less important for like the community aspect of it. So
yeah.
yeah, that generation, the 2000s generation, was really integral to bring gaming to where we are today.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, the Dreamcast itself had like House of Dead, Time Crisis.
Hmm.
A lot of those games were already available, and then of
But
course,
I don't think Dreamcast had Time Crisis.
did it not? Or then was it PS2 that
No.
had Time Crisis
Yeah,
then?
PS2 had Time
Okay,
Crisis.
so
Yeah.
if you said okay,
House of the Dead, the 2 is on Dreamcast.
yeah,
Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Capcom
Street Fighter 3,
versus SNK, Street Fighter 3, Tech Romancer, Power Stone, Power
Dead or
Stone
Alive 2. Yep.
2, Crazy Taxi. There's just a ton of games that were arcade games that were on Dreamcast that was really cool that they brought them there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. You say that Dreamcast was a massive jump from the like of N64. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think it goes fair to go back to where Bryant said like PS2, even though Dreamcast, I would argue, had better graphics than PS2, but like PS2 jump, that era of graphics comparison was definitely the biggest jump. Shenmue, to me, I remember seeing Shenmue for the first time, and I was like, wow, like this is mind blowing.
What
It's like
life?
a yeah, exactly. Everything looked like real life there. It was really cool to see. Going back to the topic of Final
Final Fantasy.
Fantasy, yeah,
There were no Final Fantasy games on Dreamcast.
no, there wasn't any at all. Only PS2, and GameCube. We had Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles on
Crystal
GameCube,
Chronicles, yeah.
which I love. The remake, the HD remake was not, or not remake, but remaster. Horrible. It's mainly horrible because of the way they do the multiplayer. The whole point of that game was you travel together, you level up together, and like progress is all done together. Where if you do the online version, it's not. You have to basically kind of share. It's like the Dark Souls way, where you have to share rooms. Like, okay, we'll beat it here, and we can then go to your world and then beat it there, and so forth. And I was not a fan of that when it came to the HD remaster. But yeah, eventually ended up playing Final Fantasy 7. Fell in love with it. Had so many hours in it. Got maxed out every character to 99. Beat Omega Ruby, or not Omega Ruby. I'm sorry. Beat
First
home.
gaming crush too
Beat
was
Ruby
Tifa by
weapon.
far.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
They're in that perfect age, 13, 14.
But beat Ruby weapon. I don't know why I said Omega Ruby. That's the Pokemon game. Uh, beat Ruby. And a lot of those cutscenes in Final Fantasy 7 were just amazing. Just the story itself too. Like I know I've said multiple times on the podcast where I think Final Fantasy 7 is overrated. I think I want to step back a little bit of that because when I really think about it, the whole like Emerald weapon coming out and like just that whole scene and all that happening was pretty awesome. Like, there was definitely a lot of awesome things going on
Mhm.
in Final Fantasy 7 that was not done before, at least, to my eyes. Like, I did not see any of these things happen before, which was very, very cool. But eventually after 7, I did jump to Final Fantasy 9 because a friend of mine's had Final Fantasy 9. And I fell in love with Final Fantasy 9, especially the jump in graphics, seeing all
Mhm.
of like the graphics and everything
Huge
like
jump.
that. Yeah, it was huge. I was like, wow, like just everything about that game was gorgeous. The
Mhm.
gameplay was fun. I love the ability system of how you can learn the different abilities from the different weapons that you got. Like all of that stuff was super cool.
The
Uh,
mood was much different too, like,
it
7 was
was,
very
yeah.
oppressive and 9 was very, whimsical.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just all of that stuff. Like nine was just amazing. Eventually my brother got it for, so I never ended up getting it. My brother got it for his birthday. And then we basically would just take turns like we did with most games there. So he got that with the strategy guide and we ended up playing it and I ended up beating it. But the strategy guide was cool because there were so many hidden things I didn't even know were on the map, like in the beginning where you could find all the different cards. I
Mhm.
forgot what the was the Tetra Master, right? That was the
Yep.
card game in that game. Yeah, so all the different Tetra Master cards. And like without the strategy guide, I probably would have never have known that. And they're like, oh
Are
yeah,
you talking
go
about
here, get the three.
the official Square strategy guide?
I don't know if it was the official Square strategy guide. I would
Okay,
assume
because that one
so.
it was the Brady Books Final Fantasy 9 strategy guide, and famously, it was really crappy because the entire thing was giving you websites to go to
Oh,
see
it
how to
wasn't
do
that
things,
one.
like, the
Yeah.
information wasn't in the book. It was so because it was so, like, internet 1.0 where it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we don't have to we can save pages and we can just put all this stuff online, but we're gonna sell you a book that gives you a website to go to." It's like, "Dude, screw you. I paid 20 bucks for this book."
Yeah. No, yeah, it was definitely Imperial Series is the Prima guide. Yeah, it was I think
Oh,
it
it's
was the
Prima?
Prima guide.
Okay, my
Um
mistake.
so yeah, like playing Final Fantasy 9, having that strategy guide, going through everything like was amazing. Love 9. And then when I went back to 8, I think the first time I played 8 was it was the demo to Brave Fencer Musashi, if I am not mistaken. So yeah, I believe that's what it was. Brave Fencer Musashi came with a demo of Final Fantasy 8, so that was the first time I played it, and I thought it was kinda cool when playing the demo, but then when I went ahead and bought the game, I actually didn't like it, and I returned it at GameStop. Eventually, I went ahead and rebought it and decided to play it. I forgot what it was. I played something else, and I went back to it. I think it was after I beat or didn't get to beat Chrono Cross, but after playing so much of Chrono Cross, I decided to go back to Final Fantasy 8, and I picked it back up and played it. Going back to
By
chat
the way,
here. Yeah, go ahead.
the guide was a Brady's game.
It
I
was
was
the
right,
Brady?
so
Okay.
take that. It was Brady, yeah.
So then
So
the
there you
Prima
go.
guy was, I think, the one that was the one that I had because that one had
Okay,
nothing to do with websites. All the information was
okay.
there. It said, let me see. Imperial Serial says Final Fantasy 12 looks better than a lot of PS3 games. Oh, for sure. I agree. Except for Vaughn's abs. Everything else in that game looks amazing. And the cutscenes look really, really good as well.
I don't know, I think
Um,
13 looks amazing, like, even by today's standards. Like,
yeah.
12, I think in a vacuum for a PS2 game looks incredible,
Yeah.
but 13 looks better than 12 does.
Yeah, Imperial PS2, I mean, yeah. Okay, it says oh, he meant it looks better than a lot of games on PS2, not PS3.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yo,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
See, your demise says 1.3K subs in 3 years. What do you think are your shortcomings as a channel that's stunning your growth? For me, actually, I'll answer that question real quick. It's basically I actually stopped doing videos last summer. Um, I had moved and then basically my work and life balance just got a little bit crazy. So it's been very difficult to continue doing videos. Not only that, like all the retro handhelds that I was doing like videos on, they're so expensive now. So yeah, I was spending a ton of money on these handhelds. So I had to slow it down. But I'm sure once I get back to doing videos, the growth will happen again. I just have to after the move and everything, it's just been finding hard to find the rhythm that I need. So we do this podcast every Sunday, where I have Brian. We also have two other members that are usually here on the podcast. It is Easter Sunday, so they're busy doing their other stuff. And then every Friday, I also do a stream where you stream stuff. We used to stream 3 times a week, where we had a group stream, but we had to hold off on the group stream because again, work and everything just got a little crazy for everybody. Imperial Serial says 9 is crazy underrated compared to 7 and 8. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's underrated because I feel like a lot of
I
people
think
praise
nine's very
9
well
more.
regarded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think nine's the best of the PlayStation. Like, if you take 7 by itself in a vacuum, it opened up so many people to RPGs. Like, that goes without saying. So many people say that Final Fantasy 7 was their first RPG that they ever got into, and for me, like, it's pretty much mine. Like, I played Mario RPG when I was a kid, but I didn't really understand it, but 7 was by far the one that got into it. But if you wanna talk just, like, important RPG,
Yeah.
seven's up there for sure. It might be it's easily, I would say, the most important RPG on PlayStation 1. Excuse me, but as far as like the best game all around, I would say 9 is, just because the art style, the I think I'd say the only thing 7 has over 9 is the villain and the story. I think 9 has like a good story. But I think that 7 has a lot more iconic stuff in it. But
Hmm.
9 has Vivi. Vivi's just as iconic as Cloud is. I mean, not as popular probably, but
Yeah.
just he's very iconic though. The locations are gorgeous. The music is amazing. The
Yeah.
graphics are great. They hold up. The environments are really cool. As James was saying, the battle system is really interesting, and you have like the thing where Steiner and Vivi have like the double. They like
Yeah.
work together to do magic and stuff
That
like
was
that. And I
cool.
think yeah, and the festival of the hunt and that music score, and it was just
Call back
such
to Chrono
a
Trigger, actually, when you think about it.
how so.
You know how, like, if you could combine abilities, right, to do different
Oh
moves
yeah, true.
in
Yeah,
Chrono
for
Trigger?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. You're right. It is. Yeah, I think 9 is the best of the PlayStation RPGs. And
Mhm.
if they like redid 7, and I don't mean like the remaster 7 that came out in 2020 and Rebirth. Yeah, there you go.
The Anniversary
But if they
9.
did like a true remaster of 7 that was the same as the PlayStation game, but just included quality of life stuff, I would say that it could be just as good as 9. 8 is kind of the ugly duckling, as it were, just as because the systems in that game are kind of complicated, and
Mhm.
they're a little tedious because you have to like draw and stuff like that. You have to draw the magic
Yeah.
and put the spells to your what do you call it, stats and everything like that. But the story is really good in 8. I'd say the story in 8 is arguably better than the story in 9.
Yeah.
The only thing that was kind of silly in 8 was the orphanage stuff. That was kind of ridiculous. But other than that, the story in 8 was really cool with Adia and Squall and the PMC,
Yeah.
of like seeds and Galabadia Garden and the boat, the Dalit landing, and all that stuff is amazing, and really it hasn't been replicated since. I can't think of many Japanese role playing games that have that kind of vibe necessarily, at least right off the top of my head. But yeah, I think 9 is a really, really 9 is by far the epitome of
Yeah.
the like rounding off all the corners of 7 and 8 to give you the best version of a PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy game.
Yeah. I think, like, Fantasian kinda, replicates, like, eight's feel to an extent.
Mm.
I remember playing Fantasian when it originally released, like, on Apple Arcade, and to me, it definitely felt like Final Fantasy 7, 8, or 9. 8 Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, sorry.
Oh,
It
like put
felt like
together.
those 3 games, yeah, exactly, put together, because there was a lot of elements it borrowed, and especially when it came to storytelling, it did have, like, that PS1 era storytelling itch, which
Yeah, I agree.
I do feel that, like, it's weird, like, the way they tell the stories in those games, those 3 specifically, it's totally different than the way games are told now. Like, if I really look at it, especially when it comes to Final Fantasy, I do think that the last game to have a similar vibe to those 3 would have been Final Fantasy X for sure, and even then, it's still not the same. 7, 8, and 9 are just unique. You can tell that Sakaguchi, who was, of course, the lead writer in these stories, definitely this was like his, like, I don't know what's the right word to say, like, his top tier. Like, he went all out for those 3 games for sure, and
He
when
was
it
like in
came to
his
storytelling.
prime.
Yeah, exactly. 10, Sakaguchi, I think, had a little bit to do with it, but not a lot. If I remember correctly, I think he oversaw it, but he didn't really
Who was the
finish
main
it.
scenario writer of 10?
Um, Kitatsi, I don't know how you say his name.
Okay.
Basically, he's now the head of Final Fantasy, so he's really the one that's in charge of all Final Fantasy projects. Once 10 came, that was like I think the big one he worked with, and then he did a couple of other ones there. He's also overseen Final Fantasy 7 remake trilogy as well. But 10 is amazing. Like, 10 is my favorite Final Fantasy. That game, I remember when I first played it, I rented it. So I didn't buy it first. I rented it from Blockbuster, like a lot of people did. We rented games from Blockbuster, making things a lot easier, more accessible, right? Didn't have to spend that much money. But I kid you not, I rented that game maybe 3 or 4 times. I played it so many times. I would wake up for school, right? So, I was in high school. I would wake up, play the game before school, go to school, come back, continue playing the game. Even though I beat it, like I want to say I beat it in the summer. I don't remember exactly when the release date was, but I beat it in the summer, and I still continued playing the
What
game
game,
after
10?
that. 10, yeah.
10 came out in January, I wanna say, January of 2001, I think.
Okay. So if it came out in January 2001, I didn't play it until probably August of that year. Yeah, August of
Okay.
2001.
So
Yeah, because
summer.
it. Yeah, exactly. Because I remember playing it summer, and then played it through all of summer, rented it multiple times, and then played it. And when school started, I was continued to play it. Um, there because it was I was in high school at the time, so waking up early and everything like that. But yeah, it was yeah, it was love 10. Like everything about it. Blitzball, I spent so much time in Blitzball. A lot of people might hate Blitzball. I loved it. Once I figured out exactly how it worked and how the systems worked, I
Wait a
kid you
second.
not. Uh-huh.
Hang on a second. You said you were in high school in
Mhm.
2001?
Actually,
You're aren't you younger
no.
than me?
Oh, no, I am. Yeah, you're right. Because no. So then I
Because
didn't play it
I
till
was in 8th I
2003
was in
then.
8th grade. I
Yeah.
was in 8th grade in 2001, so you
So I didn't
couldn't
play
have
it till
been in high school.
2003. Yeah. Because
Okay, there you go.
2003 I was in high school. Yes, I didn't play it till 2003. Yeah.
Okay.
You sure it
I
came
was
out
like doing that
2001
math in
then?
my head. I'm like, "What? You're older than me?"
You sure it came out 2001
Positive, January 2001.
in the US, right?
Yeah,
Mm,
because the PlayStation 2 came out in, October of, or, yeah, October
yeah.
2000 in the
Oh, yeah,
States.
you're
You
right.
looking
No,
it
it
up?
came out December 18th, 2001
In, North America?
in North America. Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, December 18th,
Oh,
2001. Yep. So
okay. Well, it was winter of 2001,
January
so January it's technically.
so the international edition, which actually added extra stuff, which I hated, um, came out January 31st, 2002.
Okay.
So there was
Maybe I
that
mixed stuff
one.
up.
Yeah, the international one, for those of you who don't know, they added the Dark Aeon fights. And they added to the game, and I hated that. They did that with Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 12. 12 also had the international, or no, I think they called it, what was the 12 one? I think it was called the Zodiac Age edition or
Mhm.
something like that. There was like a second version that came out that added like this battle tower mode where at the top of the tower you got to fight all the five judges, which was kind of cool. Like I remember I always wanted to play that version of the game because I wanted to fight all the judges. But of course, if you have the HD remaster ones that are available now, you actually get that mode in there, which is kind of cool.
Something that really
Hmm.
kinda irks me about 12 is that the only version you can play at 60 frames per second on console, the Xbox Series,
Hmm.
you can't do it on PlayStation, and that just irritates the hell out of me because I wanna play that game. I mean, you can play it on PC, that's fine, but, like, I'd rather play it on
Yeah,
PlayStation because that's just kinda, um anyway, continue. About
yeah,
we're talking about 10. We can
yeah.
keep going about that.
No, you're good. No, we can go back. So like Imperial Serial, I'm gonna read some of the comments here. It says the junction system was tough. Yep, I agree.
Mhm.
Gaming with Tristan says hi. Hello. Gaming with Tristan. Imperial Zero says it came out less than a year after 9, didn't it? No, it looks like it was oh, that would have been about a year, right? When did
9
9
came out
come
in
out?
2000.
So it would have been a little over a year then. Um,
Yeah.
you see, and 10 was a launch title, I thought. Yeah, it wasn't a launch
No,
title
it's
with
not 10 wasn't
PS2.
a launch title. No.
Yeah, because I know PS2 launched with, trying to think what games did it have. It had
The only like there was like Summoner, I think it was called. That was an RPG. That then there was that I think then there was I thought there was that from there was Armored Core 2, I want to say was a launch title. Swing Away Golf or Swing Away Golf, I think it was called. Smuggler's Run, Silent Scope, Tekken Tag Tournament, SSX, Madden NFL 2001.
Oh, you got the list up?
Fantavision. No, I'm thinking of it. This is off
Oh,
the top of my head. I'm that cool. Uh,
look at that.
Silent Scope, if I didn't say that already.
You didn't. But yeah, I remember Silent Scope. That's right. Yeah, so the list of PS2 launch games: Armored Core 2, Dead or Alive 2, Hardcore, Dynasty Warriors 2, ESPN International Track and
Hmm.
Field, ESPN X Games Snowboarding, Eternal Ring, Evergrace, Fantavision, Gun Griffin Blaze, Kessen,
Eternal
Madden.
Grace. That was the From Software game,
mm,
as was Armored Core 2. Continue.
um, lost my train. Where was that? Kessen, Madden NFL 2001, Midnight Club. I forgot about
Kessin,
Midnight
yep.
Club. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Midnight Club.
MotoGP, NHL 2001, Orphan, Cue Ball Village Master. I actually had that game. That's when the DVDs were purple. You remember when the PS2 first came out?
Mhm.
The DVDs actually were
Yep.
purple. I remember that. Ridge Racer 5, Ready to Rumble
Oh,
Boxing
I
Round
loved Ridge
2.
Racer. So
Yeah.
good.
Silent Scope. Uh, I feel like I missed something. Nope. Smugglers Run. I think I said that already. SSX. How could we forget about that?
Loved
Yeah.
SSX.
Street Fighter EX3. I had that one at launch.
Not great.
Summoner, Swing Away. Yeah, it was not great. Tekken Tag Tournament.
Hang on one second.
Yeah. Time Splitters, Unreal Tournament, Wild Wild Racing, and X Squad. I think actually out of all of these, we had Cue Ball Billiards Master. Don't ask me why, but we had that. I had Street Fighter EX3 because, like I mentioned, I love Street Fighter. Had that at launch. Unreal Tournament. I had that at launch. And I don't know if I had Midnight Club at launch or if I got it later on. I can't really remember. I know I owned Midnight Club. I just don't know if I picked it up at launch or if I somehow got it later on.
That was a
Um,
Rockstar game.
it was, yeah. And at that time I was like obsessed with not obsessed, but I really enjoyed racing games. My dad, he loves cars and anything racing. So when it comes to racing games, like especially Gran Turismo, he was all over that, and then I would always play it as well. And like I really liked Gran Turismo because technically speaking, it was similar to an RPG. You got to take like the license quizzes. You got money for your races. You upgraded your cars. You bought new cars and so forth. So like the vibes of Gran Turismo at that time felt very RPG-ish. So I was like really digging, Gran Turismo 1, 2, and 3. Those were really the three that I played. After that, I kind of fell off of racing games in general. Um but yeah, so go back to Final Fantasy 10.
Were you in Need for Speed Underground as well?
I did. I did get Need for Speed
Yeah.
Underground. That was less of an RPG, but it was still fun. Like Need for
Still
Speed
cool.
Underground
Yeah.
was something that everybody was playing. I think they had a PS2. And I think part of that too, that was got everybody excited. I think Fast and the Furious came out around the same time.
Oh, yeah,
If I'm
perfect
not,
timing.
yeah. So like that was like the hype around there. I think that's really why Need for Speed Underground succeeded, in my opinion. I think it's because of Fast and the Furious because it was around the
That
same
game's
time.
really good, though.
It is, yeah, it is very fun.
Yeah.
I will agree with that. Um,
So, okay, so
mhm.
my take on 10 just before we leave 10 and I
Yeah, go
assume
ahead.
go to 12, because did you play 11 at all?
I did. Yes.
Okay, so you can talk a little about 11, but
Hmm.
for me, for 10, it kinda goes back to what I was talking about with the graphics thing, because if you look at the jump between 9 and 10, like, 9 looked good it was the best looking Final Fantasy game on PS1 easily,
Yeah.
but the jump between Final Fantasy 10 and
Hmm.
Final Fantasy 9 to Final Fantasy 10 was mind-blowing, like, that opening cinema of, Titus playing, Blitzball and, the characters being fully formed, the environments were so detailed, it's, like, unbelievable to think of kind of what that looked like compared to what the previous iteration looked like, where the environments were still kind of sparse. Is that the
Hmm.
word sparse? There was a lot of fog to cover up everything because it was still fighting to render the planet and everything like that when you're on the open world. I like the battle system of 10. I thought it was cool. The leveling up in the grid, that
Hmm.
was really addicting to get all those levels up and everything. And it started getting a little overwhelming
The
for me when
sphere
you could
grid.
start
Hmm.
doing. Yeah, sphere grid, yeah. It started getting overwhelming for me where you could, like, go into other people's grids and, like,
Yeah.
learn their stuff, like, that got it to be a bit much for me, but going around the horn and trying to unlock everything was really addicting. The music was fantastic as always. The characters, nah, I don't like Titus.
Really?
I think Waka is annoying. I think
I love Waka.
Lulu Lulu's okay. She's kind of like the black mage kind of goth
Mhm.
interesting chick. Riku's whatever. Yuna's whatever. I don't like the characters. I think that Cloud and Yuna's romance is really forced. I don't think they have a lot of chemistry. The only scene that
Really?
they have chemistry is the only scene they have chemistry or like a lovely scene is that scene where they go in the water together. That's like a really lovely scene or whatever. But it's just like I don't know. I don't buy it. Oh, and I do like Orin. I think Orin's a cool character. I will say that Orin looks really cool with his huge sword and everything. And there's some aspects of the story too that are interesting to me with like Sin and everything like that. And if you kind of think about it, there's some beats that Expedition 33 kind of has that are kind of Final Fantasy 10 inspired. I
Hmm.
think if you really kind of think about it. So I can't hate too much on the story. I definitely don't like the characters of 10 though. I'd say 10 has my least favorite cast out of any Final Fantasy I've ever played.
Wow.
I just find Titus so incredibly unlikable. I know that's probably really you're like,
I
what the heck are you talking about? But yeah, that's my thoughts on 10.
To me, like, that yeah, that, like, Titus to me, like, what my biggest thing that I liked about him is how he grows, like, from the beginning to the end. Because when in the beginning, when you hear him narrating, like, "This is my story," and everything, like, he has a more, like, mature, like, deeper voice, but then when he
Mhm.
starts the game, he's like a whiny,
He's
like
kiddish.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's very kiddish, he's whiny, and he's kind of like a brat, right? He's like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I'm the best, whatever." And,
Mhm.
I just care it almost he has that sense of, "I just care about me," but as he progressed through the story, you also hear, James Arnold Taylor, who's the voice actor, of him, you hear him like, as he progresses the story, his voice gets deeper in tone until he gets a
Mm.
more serious, like, sounding voice, which was kinda cool. And I think I remember an interview where he did talk about that he did that on purpose, because when he realized it, how he transforms from beginning to the end to be like, a more mature hero, he wanted to reflect that in his voice because of how things were. So I actually like that because he grows, on you. And yes, there's some of the writing can be like corny where he's just doing the
Mhm.
laughing scene, right? Which is it's
And
a
even the laughing scene, I understand that there's some meaning to that scene that's
Mhm.
beyond the surface level, and I understand that, but it still is kinda cringy. It's
Yeah.
just I don't know.
But as he gets like there, especially after the whole Luca incident where there's the blitz ball and everything, and he starts finally realizing what Yuna has to do, like what it really means to do that, that she basically dies and sacrifices herself. That's kind of like where things change, and he's like, "No, we gotta go against that." And I liked how he progressed. Waka too, right? Because Waka is very like he's racist. He's a lot of things, right? The
Oh, he's
biggest
racist against the Albad,
the
right?
Albed, yep. Yeah, because he hates Albed, and then when he finds
Mhm.
out, spoilers
Why does he
for
hate
Final
Albad
Fantasy X,
again? Is it 'cause they
um
use technology? Is it 'cause they use
exactly,
technology? Yeah.
which is against the teachings of,
You
the,
Yevon or whatever?
yeah, correct. But, when he finds out the Yuna's half Albed, then that's
Mm.
when he kinda, like, changes his position, like, "Oh, wow," like,
'Cause Yuna and,
Riku.
Riku are, cousins, right?
Yeah, they're cousins, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, and then Riku joining, and I think in the beginning he doesn't know that she's an Albed, which is weird because their eyes. I think they say you can tell by the
Right,
eyes.
right.
Uh, but like I thought all of that was kind of interesting, and you see Waka's transformation as a character, and I like his. I thought his voice actor was just kind of like I don't know. It's very there's no other voice that's like Waka in any game that
For
I've
better
heard.
or worse.
Yeah, for better or for worse. So it has a signature vibe to it. Uh, Lulu's story, even Lulu's backstory, right? Which was kind of interesting because Lulu was in love with Waka's brother.
Brother, yeah.
What's his name? I forgot his name. Um,
Um,
ah, man, what's his name? Chapu? Yeah, Chapu. I think
yeah,
was his
that
name.
sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, so Waka's brother, which eventually as the story progresses, you realize that Waka and Lulu, they're both mourning their brother, but they kind of you know fall in love with each other during the journey. Orin, you kind of like he's mysterious, except towards the end. Like towards the end is kind of when you find out about Orin, like oh wow, like Orin's actually very old, and then you
Mhm.
find out Orin's not even alive the whole time, which was also very interesting with that. And then Kamari too, like how he opens up towards the end, and you find out that he's kind of like an exile. That he's somebody who wasn't supposed to go back to the Ronso tribe. So I really liked all of that. And then Seymour, the only thing I would say is like I think
Seymour's
Seymour
awful.
as a bad guy is like a douchebag, but I I don't know. Would you say you like Kuja more than Seymour? Thank you, babe. Um, would you say you like Kuja more than Seymour, or do you like
Uh,
Seymour more than Kuja?
Seymour is more memorable, but I don't necessarily think because of how Seymour is, that's a good thing. I think Seymour is just really he's like you ever see that movie, The Little Rascals?
Hmm.
That like one from like the 90s. He's kind of like the what's his name? What's his name? Waldo character. Like he's very like nerdy. Like he comes off as this kind of like rock star, like effeminate kind of
Yeah.
Steven Tyler-esque kind of guy, but it's like you're a dork, dude. Like he walks around with this like open robe thing going on or whatever with his
Mhm.
chest out and stuff, and he has this stupid hair. And it's like, dude, what do people think is so great about you? Like, yeah, you're powerful or whatever, but um from a villain standpoint, like I guess if you want to say you want to beat the crap out of this dork, like okay, whatever. But um, he's definitely more memorable than Kuja is for sure. Like
Yeah.
I barely remember anything about Kuja. Um, Same thing with like
Yeah.
eight with like Idea. I remember a lot more than like what Ultimecia was
Yeah.
about, and
Well,
that's
cause
kind
she's,
of like an
like, at the
unfortunate thing.
last, like, cause she shows up
Right.
at the
She
last,
just
like, 10
comes at the
minutes,
very end.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's kind of like an unfortunate thing because 7, it's very focused on who the main villain is in
Mhm.
7. You have like little mini fights with like the Turks and Shinra and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's Sephiroth, like for sure, he's the main
Mhm.
baddie. 8, they do a switch off.
And
It's like okay,
Genova. I
Dia's the
mean, cause, like, even the emphasis on Genova too, like, there, like, cause how many times do you fight Genova or a piece of Genova, rather, like, throughout
Yeah, but
the
it's still Sephiroth though. Like the whole
Yeah.
game, you're chasing Sephiroth. Like Genova is like the appetizer before Sephiroth, but
Mhm.
it's Sephiroth. 8 it does the switch off with the Dia, where you think it's a Dia the whole the first
Yeah.
2 discs, the two or three discs of the game, and then you get to Ultimecia. Oh, here's Ultimecia. Why do I care about this
Mhm.
person? What like, and that's unfortunate. And then standing with 9, where 9 you think it's like Queen Braun, I want to say her
Yeah.
name is, and the wars that are happening and everything, and then it's like, oh, here's Kuja, and he's like Zidane's half brother. So I don't remember if that's a thing or
He's
not.
Zidane's brother, yeah.
Is his brother?
Yeah, it is his brother, yeah.
His brother. Okay, yeah. So it's like okay, whatever. And then 10 comes along, and 10, you have Seymour and Sin, which I think that's cool. Like that's one point I'll give 10 is that they make the villains more iconic again, because you
Mhm.
remember those characters. I mean, Sin is kind of a gelatinous blob thing, and you know who Sin actually is, but it's an enemy. Like even if it doesn't talk, it's an enemy. And then the only other thing too I forgot to mention that I don't like really about 10 is I don't like the weapon system and upgrading your weapons and like how the stats work and everything. I think it's
I
kind of
agree with
half-assed.
that. Yeah.
Um,
It
but
was
that's
more
it.
limited for sure in 10
Yeah.
when you compare it to, like, other games. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, like, some of them made sense, like, yeah, frostproof, like, on a shield. Okay, that that prevents you against ice type abilities, or magic or whatever the case might be. But, like, yeah, and also, I will say that when not in hindsight, when I think about it, 7 really is the only game where the main bad guy is the final boss.
Yeah.
Because
8 wasn't.
8 wasn't, 9 wasn't.
9 wasn't.
Even though you
10
have
10 you fight
Kuja, after
Sin.
Kuja, you have to fight, what's his name? Zodiark?
Oh, you're
Or is it?
right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, is it Zodiark? Or I
I
forgot what
don't
his name
remember.
is. Yeah,
I don't
but
remember,
after
but you're
Kuja, you
right. I
fight
forgot
that
about
thing.
that.
And you're like, "Who the
Hmm.
heck is this thing? Like, why am I
Yeah.
fighting that?"
Yeah.
But,
10 I would say is you fight Sin as the last boss, and it's kind of the enemy the whole time.
well, no, it's
Like
not
you have
really
Seymour, but I
Sin.
think Seymour's kind of like Genova. It's like,
Well,
the little appetizer.
you fight Sin, which then
Mhm.
it is, I guess, spoiler, we'll say who it is because this is a spoiler cast because we're talking Final Fantasy, but
25-year-old game.
it's Jacked. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you fight Seymour because I think you fight
Mhm.
Jack first, then you fight Seymour, then you fight Yu Yevon.
Mm.
Is it Yu Yevon or yeah, Yu Yevon, right? Isn't the
I don't remember. It's been a while since I finished that
what
game.
is it called? It's
Neo
it
Yevon.
looks like a spider, basically like a small
Right.
spider. I think it's Yu Yevon. See, I'm gonna find out what it is now. Oh, that's what it was. I don't know how I can remember. Yeah, Yu Yevon. Yep. Yeah, it looks like a right here, like a giant spider. But yeah, that's like the final boss, which is interesting because then you find out that Yu Yevon's teaching is actually like bad. Basically, it's what's um everything is going through, which is kind of interesting. Uh, but yeah, because then every other game, even if you go back before that, because well, I guess 6 also, because Kefka
6 is
is
Kefka. Yeah.
yeah. So and Kefka from the beginning to the end
Mhm.
is a bad guy. So 6 and 7 have basically are the only two Final Fantasy that all the way through is the final boss. 4 has a mix up at the end. You fight because you think it's Golbez, but it's not Golbez. It is Oh, why can't I remember his name now too? It's something else. And then
15 is not, because 15 I
what's
has that
Arden?
dude. Huh?
It's Arden. 15 is Arden.
Yeah, but I don't feel like he's, like, the main bad guy the whole time, is he?
He is, yeah. He like
Is
when he
he?
first
Okay,
appears, yeah.
okay.
Like he comes up to you as like not a bad guy, but he's kind of like in between, or like you don't know who
Sketchy.
he is. Yeah, he's like a sketchy guy, and then later on you find out he's the bad guy. Which I think is like your cousin technically, or no, not your cousin,
Is
like your
he?
uncle. Yeah, he's related
I
to
don't even
you.
remember.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to look that up.
Um, that's the sad thing about 15. 15's lore. We'll
Yeah,
get
so
to
much
15 in a
potential.
second. It
Yeah,
had
we'll get to
so much
15, yeah,
potential.
yeah.
Um, but yes, 5, you think it's Xdef, but it's not. It is Zodiark, I think. I think 5 has Zodiark. 4, it's not Golbez. It's somebody else. I don't remember. 3 is the Dark Cloud, which you don't even see at all until like the ending of the game, which is crazy. 2, I guess 2 is the same thing. It's the Emperor, which you do know of the Emperor. You just don't really fight him until the end of the game. So 2, I guess, is also one of them. And then 1, it's what's his name? Oh, why can't I
Garland?
think of his name? No, it's not Garland. It's Chaos.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Who's Garland?
Garland is technically Chaos. Like he turns into Chaos,
Okay.
basically.
So I was close.
Yeah. So you were close, yeah. But Garland was like how did I put it? He was like a good guy turned bad, hence Stranger of Paradise, where you play as Garland. Yeah. If you didn't know that. You play Stranger of Paradise, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, spoiler. I would recommend playing it because the coolest thing about Stranger of Paradise, I know we're a little bit off topic because we're not continuing with 10. And this is semi spoilers to those who haven't played Stranger of Paradise. You actually, so there's 15 levels, I think, if I'm not mistaken, for the 15 Final Fantasies. And you actually go through each level is based off of a different Final Fantasy game, which is,
Really? I didn't
yeah,
know that. That's cool.
it is
So
the
you play, like, a
coolest.
level that's based in 8?
There's a level that's based in 8, level that's based in 9. The level that's based
That's
in
cool.
9 actually uses the same song. It's the forest where you remember where you crash with the ship?
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Oh, that's
yep.
rad. I
It
I wanna
uses
see that. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's actually that one, which is so cool. I remember when we got to that level, we did it as a group stream, me, Ash, and Fan. And when we got to that level, the first half of the thing, you're like, oh, like this is based on 9 because it kind of gives you hints of what Final Fantasy is based off of. And then halfway through the level, the music changes to the Final Fantasy 9 music. I was like, oh man, I can't believe this. It's so cool. Yeah, I highly recommend. You know what? Maybe if I pick it up on PlayStation, we could play it together. If it's not on PlayStation Plus already,
Yeah,
we could do that. Yeah, because I did enjoy it. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was fun. All right, going back to. Actually, we can skip 10.
let's
I think it's enough on 10, right?
yeah, we talked a lot about 10.
All
You
right.
can touch on 11 and 12 if you want. I don't have a lot to say about them, though.
Yeah, 11 was an MMO. The funny thing about 11 is I remember I picked it up for my birthday. I was reading, I want to say it was probably Game Informer and probably some other magazines. I don't know exactly which ones, but I was reading about 11 for the longest time. It's like, oh, it's an online Final Fantasy game. You got to play with a bunch of people, and so forth. And I read so deep into it that I knew when I picked it up, it's like, okay, I have to buy Final Fantasy 11. It has to come with the hard drive so I can insert it into my PS2 and then connect it to the internet because it'll have the Ethernet ports on the back. So I read up so much about it that when my birthday came, my mom took me to GameStop and I picked up Final Fantasy 11 and got the whole package and fell in love with it. I think I still have the hard drive and the Final Fantasy 11 packaging somewhere in my house. I gotta look for it, but I kept the box and everything. And to me, it was the coolest thing ever, especially for a PS2 game because basically you install the hard drive into the PS2, and then when there's not a disc in there, you would boot into the normal PS2 menu where typically you would see the memory card, but there was the hard drive. It'll say HDD. You would go and click on the hard drive, and then you would install Final Fantasy 11. That's how you booted up the game. So anytime I booted up Final Fantasy 11, I had to make sure there was no disk in there. It would boot into the hard drive, and then I would click on what game that I want to play. In this case, Final Fantasy 11. With Final Fantasy 11, you had to install Play Online, and then you were able to play both Tetra Master I think it was Tetramaster, or it might have been shoot, what's the Final Fantasy 8 card game? I don't know why I can't think of it right now.
Triple Triad.
Yes, Triple Triad. It was one of those two. I think it was Tetramaster that it had, not Triple Triad. I can't remember. But you had that came included for free that you can play, or of course Final Fantasy 11. And man, can I tell you, like the story of Final Fantasy 11 was actually really, really good. The music is really, really good, and it kind of sucks that it was an MMO to an extent. Like the memories I have on the game are definitely like very like I don't want to say pressure, but they're very memorable to me. Like I had a lot of memories playing that game. It was cool. I met a lot of friends. I used to play with Japanese players, which was kind of cool. So like I got to learn a lot more about like Japanese culture because a lot of the people that I played with were from Japan. You would have these what they call like guilds. You would basically have them. They were called link shells in Final Fantasy 11. And my link shell happened to be both what they call Western and Japanese. So no matter what time of day, there was always somebody playing in there. And a lot of times I would start playing late at night. So I was playing a lot of the times with the Japanese players. But it was kind of cool because then you would hear them talk and they would ask about how is it in America? And then, I would ask about Japan and we would share stuff back and forth. But it was like the coolest thing
That's back when
ever.
that was really novel to, like,
Yeah.
communicate with people like that.
Yeah, nowadays you can do that no problem, and it sounds like it's, "Oh, like, why you think that's awesome?" Yeah, back then, you never really talked with anybody outside of the country, anybody outside of your own city, basically, like, you really didn't see much people outside of your own city because after that, it's just, whoever's around you, that's who you talk to. But, yeah, the story in the game was great. The combat probably outdated for sure, but it was still fun nonetheless. It was still Final Fantasy. Fun fact, this is the game that actually so playing through all the other Final Fantasies we talked about, I never buffed my characters. I never used like protect or barrier or whatever magic. I never used like shell or I forget what the other version of Shell was. I never used any of those abilities. When I played Final Fantasy 11, there was a big emphasis on using Protect and Shell against physical damage and magic damage. And once I figured out that, every other Final Fantasy game became easy because I was like, all right, I'll buff my characters before I go ahead and start fighting the final boss or whatever the case might be. But it was a fun game nonetheless. I really, really enjoyed 11. And yeah, the music's great. Like if you haven't had the soundtrack or haven't heard the soundtrack, definitely listen to it. One of my favorite songs is the Tavnasia. I think it's how you pronounce it. I think it's called like Tavnasia Stronghold. Let me double check. I have it in my Apple Music playlist here. It is. Let me find it.
I'm gonna be off camera for a second, but I'm still here.
Okay, no worries. What is the name of this? I know I have it on here. Tabnasian Archipelago. That's what it is. Ron Fair is also another one which is pretty good. The Sanctuary of Zeta, which was placed it was, a lot of us in Final Fantasy 11 would know that's where you leveled up a lot of places. And then, there's some other one. I think there's one Nord, I believe was the name of the place. There was like a little like pirate, hole out like I don't want to say stronghold, but that was another one. The Tavnasian like city itself, the music for that area was also really good. Like there's a really good soundtrack with that. Amazing, amazing soundtrack. Highly recommend listening to that. And then Final Fantasy 12 kind of built on the MMO structure, so the combat Final Fantasy 12 was very similar. I remember picking it up at on PS2. That game I did not rent. I actually bought that. That was kind of the game to pull me away from Final Fantasy 11. So my parents actually bought it for me because they're like, "Hey, we want to see you outside again. So here's Final Fantasy 12. Maybe this will get you away from this game." So and it did pull me away for a little bit. Pulled me away from Final Fantasy 11. I enjoyed it like a lot of other people, like quickly I started realizing Vaughn is not the main character of the game. Like if you play Final Fantasy 12, you'll realize that Vaughn is not the main character. And I think once you come to terms that he's not the main character, you enjoy the game so much more because the main characters are literally Balthair, Ash, and Bosch. Some people argue. I know Geek from the Geek Show likes to say that it's Ash. Uh, you know, yeah, I mean, it is kind of her story because everything's happening to her. But it's kind of hard to say because I feel like those three play a pivotal role. There's a lot of cutscenes. When you really look at it, Vaughn is doing nothing. He's just sitting down, just doing nothing, and it's always Balthier, Ash, and Bosch talking to each other. They're the main ones that are talking throughout the whole game. I think at the end, I remember I'll never forget the scene because there's a scene at the end where Vaughn says something. I'm like, dude, like, sit back down. Like, this is like, grown adults are talking, and then you go and say
Let the
something like,
grown-ups talk.
yeah, I'm like, this guy needs to get out of here. So yeah, he's not the main character. He was a main character in Revenant Wings, which was a sequel for DS. That was more of an RTS game, which is actually really, really good as well. He was a main character there, and he definitely was a lot more likable. But in 12, if you play through it, just know that he's not the main character. I think he's a character that was kind of shoehorned in so that you can kind of look through his eyes. I remember reading some magazines saying that they switched it to Vaughn because somebody, I don't know who, said that the character, like, Bosch was originally supposed to be the main character, but he's too old. So they didn't want somebody who was like in the 30s, too old, right? But I think he's like
Uh,
36, which is funny. Um, they didn't want somebody who's 36 to be the main character. Then they didn't want Ash to be a main character because even though she's a female and they had a female lead before, they just didn't feel that it would, capture the biggest audience. So then they brought Vaughn in, who's a younger kid, to be the main character, and they thought he would be more relatable for anybody, but no. Well, with everybody, and he was not at all. But I still like 12. Like 12 is definitely still, one of my more memorable Final Fantasy games. I do enjoy it. The music to me is not the best. Like, it's definitely not like any Final Fantasy previously. It's the same composer who did Final Fantasy Tactics or Valkyria Chronicles, and there's like another game that composer did as well. And there's some good tracks in it. It's just not as good as the previous games, but I do still like the world. It is very Star Wars. If you really look at the story, it's straight up Star Wars. Like, you have your Darth Vader. There's literally a scene. The beginning of the game is literally the whole rescue Princess Leia from the Death Star scene. And I would just like you to replay it, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Balthier is literally Han Solo. Han Solo, yeah. Fran, who's the bunny girl that's with Balthier, she's literally Chewbacca. Ash is literally Princess Leia, and Bosch is basically Obi-Wan, except that he doesn't die. Like, there's so many
what?
parallels with
Obi-Wan
these
dies?
characters. Yeah, right. Whoops, spoilers for 1970. When did it come out? 1979, right? It was,
Something like that.
yeah, whenever A New Hope came out. Uh, yeah, spoiler for a movie that came out that long ago. But yeah, that was 12. How about you talk about Final Fantasy 13?
Whoops, hang on one second.
Hmm.
Um, actually, jump forward to or just real quickly talk about like one other thing that you're really into in the Final Fantasy universe, and I'll go to 13. I'm just doing something really quick.
Okay, no worries. We talked a little bit about Crystal Chronicles. Like, I really like even though it's a spin-off game and it came out on the GameCube, I really liked that game and enjoy it. The music is another thing. Like, something Final Fantasy is usually really good with is the music. And that's something you'll hear from me a lot. The music in Final Fantasy is very top tier. I enjoy the soundtrack, regardless if it's Nobuo Uematsu doing the soundtrack or somebody else. They usually have really, really good music. Final Fantasy 10, the majority of the soundtrack outside of 2 Xanarkin is not done by Nobuo Uematsu, and I think Final Fantasy 10 has an amazing soundtrack. 13 has a pretty decent soundtrack. I'm not the biggest fan
We'll get to that.
of, yes, we will get to that, but I'm not the biggest fan of the composer. I forgot his name. He also does some of the music for like the Final Fantasy 7 remake series, and I just think because he has kind of like this signature style. So whenever I hear his music, I'm like, oh yeah, it's you. And it's usually not bad. Like, I know when I hear Yoko Shimomura, like, you can hear her violins and all her music, and her pianos are literally like crazy good. But with this guy, I don't know, I just don't like it. But anyways, going back to Crystal Chronicles, The music in that game is amazing. It's very nostalgic. Like I remember having the Game Boy Advance, and we would have to plug it in, and then me and my brother played through Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and we did two players. I don't remember how we had two Game Boy Advances because I've said multiple times the way I play Game Boy Advance games was through the Game Boy player. That's how I was able to play them. But I just know at one point we had two Game Boy Advances. Don't know how, but we had two. At one point we had three Game Boy Advances, and I don't know where they came from, but we had three in our house somehow. Um, but yeah, we were able to get like the two link cables and play through that. It was very fun. We did take a look at our playlist on the channel. Me, Fan, and Ash, and my brother, actually, my younger brother, who I did not play the game with at that time because he was too young. But we actually did a playthrough of all four of us. So definitely take a look at that. It was pretty fun. We went through Dolphin and we did it that way through emulation because the HD, like I mentioned earlier, the HD remaster is just not as good. It doesn't really full let you fully experience it how it's supposed to be. But I really enjoyed Crystal Chronicles of how they did the magic system, the weapon system. It was definitely a Final Fantasy game. There wasn't really a leveling up system. Instead, at the end of each level, you kind of got these little like I don't know what you want to say, trophies, statues, whatever, that kind of level up like your defense or your magic or your HP or your inventory slots and so forth. But Crystal Chronicles was actually a good one. Not a mainline Final Fantasy, but a good Final Fantasy nonetheless. And its sequels are just as good. So it is a Final Fantasy game that I would highly recommend. All right. You ready
Okay,
for
that's good.
ready to
So yeah,
play? All right.
I'll talk about 13. Yeah, so 13 came out in it was 2009. I'm just trying to remember what month it was that it came out in, but what or maybe it was 2010. It was in the spring, I want to say, of 2010.
Hmm.
Um and it came out on PS3, and I remember really knowing nothing about the game as far as like what was in it, what it consisted of, what it looked like, what the premise was, what the battle system would look like. Like I just kind of knew um what just maybe like some pictures of like the protagonists and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and I didn't know anything, and I
It
didn't
was
know how the
real
battle
quick,
system would work.
March 9th, 2010.
Okay, so I was close. Yeah, spring
Hmm.
2010.
Hmm.
So I just moved back from Chicago. Um and I actually have something to show you.
Hmm.
Just pulling it up right now. Okay. Get my camera back on.
Hmm.
Okay. So it something that jumped out to me about Final Fantasy 13, because I'll get into my whole thing about it, and then I'll show you what I want to
Hmm.
show you that I just got. Um I really loved the paradigm system of Final Fantasy 13, and I'll get the stuff out of the way that I think are valid criticisms of Final Fantasy 13. I think that the story takes itself a little too seriously. Like there's stuff in it that's kind of silly. Like Saz is kind of like a silly character with the chocobo in his hat and his head. It's cool, but he's kind of a silly character. Um, Hope is kind of like a whiny kid kind of thing, and
Yeah.
I think Vanille and Fang are really cool progressive characters as well. I don't think that Vanille is annoying. I think that they're really Vanille's like a really badass magic user. Fang is a really powerful feminine character, and
Vanilla reminds
Snow is
me
just kind of like your
of Aerith to an extent. Like I always felt like Vanilla
who
had
Vanilla
like an
does.
Aerith vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. And then Snow is just kind of like your typical like kind of bro protagonist as well. But my favorite character, and honestly, like maybe my second or third favorite character in all of Final Fantasy is Lightning. My favorite character in all of Final Fantasy is Clive, like not even close. From Final Fantasy 16. But Lightning, I love Lightning because there's so much about her that I love. First of all, I love her design. I think that her hair is amazing. I love her little outfit that she has because she's like a soldier. She has this really striking scarf that is like coming off of her backside, and it's just like constantly like flowing, and like the wind is like taking it the whole time, like
Hmm.
when you're like going through the worlds and stuff. Her weapon is awesome. How the way she moves is incredibly cool, and I just think it's awesome how you have a female protagonist in a game, zero love interest. I think that's something that's really special. And I mean, just the fact that she's a female, I think that's the really special thing. I think the love interest part and being a female is just kind of like a side because like Seven had a love interest, Aerith and Tifa, by and large, it's kind of like a love triangle thing, even though Aerith is in love with Zack but she loves Cloud and Tifa and Cloud have like a history. But there's a love story there, even though it's never really like totally fleshed out. Eight is the whole thing is about love
Mhm.
between Squall and Renoa.
Renoa,
Nine, it's Garnet and Zidane.
Zidane, yeah.
10, it's Yuna and Titus. 12, does 12 have like a main love story?
I mean, Ash's husband died in the beginning, that's about it.
Okay. 13, the only love story in 13, and then we'll skip 13 for now, but then 15, I guess you could say Luna Freya
Freya
and
and
Noctis
Noctis.
or whatever, I guess, even though that's really
Poor
weak.
job,
But
yeah.
there is technically, yeah. And then 16, it's Jill and Clive. But what I like about 13 is that the main protagonist, her main motivation is her sister. And I think that's really cool. The only love story in the game that is front and center is Snow and
Sarah.
Sarah. Yeah, that's really the only love story. And then you could say it's not as it's implied, but Vanilla and Fang are like a couple. So you could kind of say that it's not directly stated that they're a couple, but it's kind of implied. So I just think that's a really cool storytelling and you can kind of make fun of her, like, oh, she's just kind of like the badass, non-feeling commando chick or whatever. It's like, yeah, but guess what? Cloud was the same way. Squall was the same way. Zidane was kind of a breath of fresh air because he wasn't
Mhm.
that way. 10, I thought Titus went too far the other way. 12, you kind of went through what those characters like. So 13 was kind of more of a return to form of like Cloud and Squall, but I think that Lightning, like she was very mission based. Like she was doing this to save her sister, and so she didn't have time to get bogged down in the distractions. And so I just wanted to show you.
Mhm.
Speaking of my second favorite character of all time, I just got this in the mail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was nearly a year that I ordered it, and I got it, and it's this really freaking cool
Where'd you order it
um
from?
figure. Like one of those like really fancy figure places. I don't remember what it's called, like
Oh,
Kaija or something like that. I don't
yeah.
remember, but
Oh, that's kinda
yeah, it
cool.
was expensive. But it's badass. Like this is a really nice looking statue. And so I got that. But then you can kind of just go through the rest of Final Fantasy 13. The environments are beautiful. People are talking about like, oh, you just go through hallways through the entire game. It's like, dude, if you want to start getting angry about how linear Final Fantasy is, look at 10. 10 is incredibly linear. It really is. And I don't have a problem with that because I think that there's room for both in the genre. I think there's room for games that are more storytelling focused, that have a more direct approach to
Mhm.
where the game wants you to go. And then there's also games that could be like really open world and explore and go at your own pace and go wherever you want. There's room for both. So I don't see a problem with 13 and how it's incredibly straightforward. Um, the music, I love the music of 13. I mean, the battle theme in 13 is easily top 3 battle themes, I would say, in all Final Fantasy. Just like straight up standard battle theme. Um, it's a beautiful game. Like I actually just popped it on Steam Deck a couple days ago because I knew I was getting that figure and I wanted to just kind of experience it again. And I played through the
Mhm.
opening and it looks gorgeous. The game is 16 years old now, exactly, pretty much. And it looks very modern. It doesn't look like, oh, this is
Hmm.
ugly. This is from 2010. It's like, no, this is aged incredibly
That
well.
rem
Like just the art style.
that reminds me too, I think there was rumors that there's supposed to be a Final Fantasy 13, like, updated port, coming soon. Because I think there was a rumor that
God, I
it got
wish.
leaked somehow, and it was gonna be
I haven't
like
heard that. I hope you're right.
like a 4K, like, remaster, so it would just be like a
Oh,
jump in graphics and everything like that, so,
I'd be
yeah.
so excited because really the best, it's kind of the same thing as 12. The best way to play 13 right now is to play the Xbox
Yep.
ports because they're, what do you call it, upscaled to 4K and it has lightning returns,
Mhm.
13 2 and 13. And I don't really want to play them on Xbox. Like I don't associate Final Fantasy with Xbox really. Like I will if I have to, but I'd rather. And you can't even like the only way you can play Final Fantasy 13 on PlayStation 3 is if you have the disc. It's not even available digitally on PlayStation 3, which is
Oh,
crazy
wow,
to
I
me.
didn't know
13 2
that,
and
yeah.
Lightning Returns are, but not the original 13. You have to have the disc. And I do have
Hmm.
the disc for 13, but it's still like ridiculous. So again, another criticism of 13, I think it takes itself too seriously. I think that the fact that you have like these little things in the loading scenes that have to kind of reiterate the story, and there's like an encyclopedia to read to kind of understand the lore of the world, it comes across as very mechanical, very borderline pretentious, that they're like trying too hard to make this world be something that it kind of has like a 15 syndrome in my head, where
I was gonna say the same thing.
15 I think kind of had that too, but 15, like, it was very obvious what they could have done to make that work. I don't know if 13 is as obvious as what they could have done to make that work, because I don't know how interesting. Like, the premise of there being this world that people get exiled from when they get a mark, like that's a cool premise. And then like the planet below is this, hellscape and everything, and then you learn it's not really technically that. Like there's some cool stuff there, but there's just a lot of lore in there and about characters you don't particularly care about,
Mhm.
or that are kind of forgettable, that I can kind of see where people are coming from with that. But the premise, just like with so many Final Fantasy games, there's a really, really good premise there, that some things they hit, some things they miss. Going back to the paradigm system, I love the paradigm system in 13. I love the battle system in 13. It's more so about changing classes than it is about doing actions, and that's why there's kind of like that auto battle option. Because the point, because I remember when I first started playing 13, I hated auto battle. I never used it. But then when I kind of when it got to learning about paradigm switching and stuff, I realized that the actual actions don't matter as much as choosing the right paradigm for the fight and where you are in the fight, which is kind of like an MMO kind of way of dealing with things, as far as like
Yeah.
this class needs to be doing this thing while this class is over here doing this thing and stuff. And I love the battle system of 13, and I don't mind how straightforward it is in that regard. But the paradigm system is very cool, and I think that 13 um, laid the groundwork for where we are with Final Fantasy now, as far as staggering.
Yeah.
16 has that as a major gameplay component. 7 Rebirth and 7 Remake have that, and I'm sure other RPGs too, Final Fantasy or not, use that kind of system. I don't remember if 15 did, but um,
I don't believe 15
did
did.
it?
I don't
Okay, I don't
remember
think
it
so
having
either.
it at all.
I thought the monster designs were really cool. Again, I think that, I'll be totally honest, I think the main baddies in 13 are not memorable. Really, they kind of pull a
Mhm.
switcheroo at the end for the last bosses of 13, and it's whatever, it's fine. But I think that the Crystallis, I think it's the Crystallis system, or whatever, where you're leveling up your characters,
Yeah,
is very 10 inspired. I think it's very visually striking,
for
and it
sure.
works
Yeah.
really well, and it looks nice. And again,
Kinda
that's
got
another thing
brought
too. I think
back
you
too in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, it looks very similar to that. You're right.
Mhm.
And I don't remember if you said this or not, but I thought you said something. I thought you said this, or somebody said this, where you liked going into the menus of 13 just because they looked really cool. Like, it had like this
Mhm.
cool like loading animation, and then like it showed like the character like doing like a little pose when you loaded their character
Yeah.
profile and stuff. And I thought
Mm.
that was kind of cool too. But yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts on 13. It really drives me nuts that the internet is just so down on it. I think that there's some revisionist history though with that game. I think that people are starting to come around to it a little bit more, and seeing for what it is now. Because I think when it came out, people were still very much trained on what 7, 8, 9, and 10 were, and 12 wasn't that hot when it got released as far as the overall opinion of it. And I think people were upset that they were going so far away from what 7, 8, 9, and 10 were. So 13 was just kind of like another shot in the barrel of them leaving that style. And really, they never went back to it
Mhm.
after 10, that like kind of old school Final Fantasy style. So I really think that if and when they do announce a remaster of 13, to hopefully like, PC, Switch 2, PlayStation 5, I really hope that a lot more people give it a chance and see that there's a lot of really special stuff about 13. And I beat 13 too. I didn't like it as much as 13 because I didn't like the monster the Pokemon aspect of it. I thought it felt kind of forced, and I just didn't care for it. I didn't care for his name Noel, I think,
Yeah,
the
no.
Noel. Yeah, I thought he
Max.
was
I call him
whatever.
Max.
Yeah, I thought he was
Hmm.
whatever. And then Lightning
He's
returns. The thing,
the
and then
now you didn't catch the reference. He's the voice actor to Max from a Goofy movie in
is he? Oh, yes, yeah,
yeah.
you're right. He is. Ha,
Yeah.
that's funny. You're right. He totally is. I didn't catch that reference. I didn't know who you were talking about, Max. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
fuck's Max? And then Lightning Returns. That's a game, and then I'll end it with this, and I'll let you go, and then we can move on to 15 and 16 briefly. But um, third. Lightning Returns is a game that I want to play really badly, but I have a feeling that it's going to just kill my OCD because of the time travel aspect of it
Mm.
and like having to choose what to do because you're on a time limit.
Yeah.
That's never fun to me. And that's the one reason why I never got into Majora's Mask is because that sounds so stressful to me. And I'm a perfectionist and I'm OCD. So like I want to do everything. And I hate having to make decisions about what to do in a certain amount of time, having to finish something in a certain time. And if we have time to kind of talk about what we've been playing, I'll kind of tell you where I'm coming from in
Mhm.
that regard. But I really want to go back to Lightning Returns. I need to just like read a guide on how to treat the timing, and then I'll probably be less stressed out about it. But what I have played of Lightning Returns, I like the battle system a lot. Like, another really cool battle theme. Lightning looks freaking amazing, and it is different. But maybe one day I'll revisit it. But as for now, I did finish 13 and 13 too.
See, malicious malcontent on YouTube says Lightning Returns is bad. Don't play it.
Mm, mm.
I'll tell you this. I did play it. Like I had held off for Lightning Returns for a very long
Lightning.
time,
Okay, Lightning
and then I did ended up playing it. And I would agree. Like I did fall off like almost halfway through. And like I'm not really feeling like the system at all. Like it was okay. Of the trilogy, in my opinion, I actually like 13-2 the most.
I think most
Um,
people like 13 too the most.
yeah, and it's like the time travel aspect of it, I did
That was
enjoy,
cool.
actually. I really liked seeing the different eras and, going back, it kinda got that, like, Chrono Trigger itch, right, of, like, all the time traveling and going back to places you visited before and see how they look in different time
Are you talking about the
periods.
time travel in 10 and 13 too?
In 13-2, yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because there's like, isn't there time stuff in Lightning Returns or no?
There is as well, yeah.
Okay. Okay, you're talking
Um,
about 13.2. Yeah, I
well,
agree. I think
like
the time traveling thing in 13.2 is really cool.
yeah, Lightning Returns is a little bit different because it's almost like you're in, like, purgatory, I wanna say.
Mm.
That's what the story of like Lightning Returns is. Like it's very I'm almost that's what it is. You're like in like purgatory basically. It's kind of
You're like
because I
trying to
think
save people from like annihilation or something, aren't you?
yeah, because I think that's what it is. They're in purgatory, and since you are there now, and it's just kind of weird because I don't like what they did with Lightning because they basically made her like a goddess now, and it's
Mhm.
just it just like the whole story was
She
weird
was so
and
much cooler when she was just a soldier.
yeah, like 13 itself was great. My only like negative to 13 too really is just where it led everything to be. Like, okay, like
Kinda
why
crazy.
why do you have to be a goddess now? And then like
Yeah.
Caius,
Yeah,
who's the main
Caius,
bad
yeah.
guy in 13 too, like then he's like, I don't know what he is, but then he's Lightning's main villain, and I'm like, I don't know.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah. The only comment I gotta say on 13 itself is well, I actually like Snow. He was cool, voiced by
Mhm.
Troy Baker,
Yep.
too, which before he was too cool to have roles like that. You know, but like he did a great job as Snow, and I liked him as a character. My favorite cutscene, one of my favorite cutscenes, almost in all of Final Fantasy, probably my second favorite, I would say, is that part where um like Snow and Sarah are riding that little like jet thing, and there's like I guess the
Oh,
war
yeah,
or
and the
whatever's happening.
fireworks.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not the fireworks. It's
Oh, not the
there's
fireworks?
a fight scene. It's the scene after that where they're going to I forget what that big tower thing is. What are they called? I don't know. I can't remember what the name of the Lassie or whatever it is. Maybe or Falsey is. I think it is.
There's Falsey and Lussie. They're Lussie, I
Yeah,
think,
they're
aren't they?
Lassie. So where the Falsey is, it's like this giant tower thing, and
Mhm.
Snow is on the like little like I don't know, like speeder scooter thingy, and he's flying around with Sarah, and he gets to the top, and then Sarah gets sucked in because I think that's where Sarah basically turns into the crystal mode. Is that thing
Okay,
like
that sounds right.
sucks her in, and he tries to get her, and he couldn't like grab her. Um, but yeah, like that was like one of my favorite cutscenes. It's almost on par with the assault one in Final Fantasy X, where they all go to save Yuna, to stop the marriage between Yuna
Oh,
and
yeah.
Seymour. Yeah,
Yep.
it's like up there with that. So I really did like that part. And then 13, when people say it's linear, I think the issue is that literally the maps are linear. Like I'll never forget. I forgot which map it is. I know you're playing as I think you have Lightning and Hope because a lot of how everybody spread they're like in different areas. So you have Lightning and Hope, and literally one of the maps is just literally a straight line. And I'll never forget that was where I gave up on the game. But luckily, a little bit after that, I think is where you get to the big open area, and then you can run around. And then that was one of my favorite parts when you get to that part. But yeah, like I didn't mind the cast of 13. I do think they still have a pretty good cast. They're very memorable for sure. Um, I mean, I would argue, I think like in almost every Final Fantasy game, I feel like all the Final Fantasy cast, excuse me, is very, very memorable when it comes to, the way they do the cast. Enemies though, I don't remember any bad guy in 13, I'll tell you that. Outside of like the old man who's supposed to be like the Pope,
Yeah.
like he's the only guy I remember. Outside of that, I don't remember anybody else. Oh, and there's a guy I think that looks like the main bad guy from 12. I forget what the main bad guy from 12 is. Starts with a V. Anyways, yeah, there's that. 14, Creative Business Unit 3, right? It's a game that got saved. Loved 14. I think the
Yeah, that's a podcast by itself probably. Like, I haven't played a ton of it, but as far as,
okay.
like, the story of that game, that's a huge undertaking.
It is. It's a long, long story, but the points I do want to touch on is I think the
Started on
world building
PS3
in
for God's
there.
sake.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The world building in that game is amazing. Like
Oh,
it
yeah.
is. If they came with like an offline, like single player only mode, that would be pretty cool because there is a lot of good things in 14 for world building for sure. And there's a near crossover raid that's in there that is canon to the near storyline. So a lot of people don't
Oh,
know that, but it is canon to the near storyline, which is pretty cool. And there is a canon Final Fantasy Tactics raid as well, which I thought was pretty awesome. Actually, because I had stopped playing 14, I did watch the Final Fantasy Tactics raid cutscene, and you're basically a descendant of Ramza, and you find out. So, spoiler for anybody who hasn't played Final Fantasy Tactics, I should say this. Uh, there. So if you are into
yeah, I haven't played Final
tactics,
Fantasy Tactics,
oh,
so
you haven't?
tread
Okay,
lightly.
never
I
mind.
mean, I played it, but not, like, to the end or anything
All
like
right, so
that.
then I won't say it because it does spoil some of the ending. So I will
Okay,
we will skip that. Let's go to 15 then.
okay.
15 is a sad game to me
You're the expert
because
on 15.
yes, I do have a video talking about versus 13 and how that was supposed to be where 15 came from. But like 15 is very sad to me because it could have been so much more like better overall. They had the makings of everything. They had Tetsuya Nomura heading it, which Tetsuya Nomura did all the artwork of Final Fantasy from six and like forward. So like all the character designs in six, seven, eight, nine, and so forth, except for 14. The 14 and I think 12 actually are the only two games he did not do the character designs on. But yeah, he did do Lightning's character design, which there's an interview with him when they said how he designed Lightning is because they asked him to draw a female version of Cloud. That was literally what they asked for, and that's what he drew. That's why Lightning has a lot of callbacks to Cloud. Even the face itself, like a lot of people have said, like if you overlay Cloud to to Lightning's, they like the eyes and everything match up because it's literally just Cloud, just female version. But anyways, he was heading the story, and this was supposed to be his kind of like, hey, this is Kingdom Hearts, but if it was darker and more mature. And that's where he was getting with it. But of course, Square Enix started gutting the story and turned it into a film, turned it into an anime, turned it into a beat 'em ups game and like one other thing. And they kind of ruined the story of 15, which kind of sucks because I really like Noctis. I think Noctis had so much potential to be such a cool character, possibly one of the best main characters in Final Fantasy. Like his powers are so cool. I just in my head just
The royal arms and
yeah,
being like
exactly.
the heir to this country, and his dad
Mhm.
dies, and
Yep.
all that stuff. Like
The
that is
teleporting
such good
everywhere.
stuff. Yeah, that's such good stuff, and they just could not. That you're right. Like that is such a waste of potential because like that movie Kingsglaive or whatever. Like there's
Yeah.
so much cool lore that's built up into that, and like there's so many ways. I think if you and I brainstormed and like made it like wrote something out, we could come up with a much better storyline and a much
Mhm.
more fulfilling narrative than what they ended up coming with that. Like they could have made it so the whole game is you going to a different country and getting one of these arms, and then it turns out that the royal arms are killing you, and you have to like use them to avenge your father. But then, like, do you want to avenge your father or live with Luna? Like, there's so many different ways you could go with that story that would be so cool and interesting and original,
Mhm.
and they just like. okay, so spoiler, she dies, and it's like, okay, like you saw her in flashbacks like 6 times. Okay, big deal. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm fighting Ifrit now. Okay, bye. Like it's just there was so much wasted potential with that game, and it's really a bother because like
Mhm.
I didn't care for the battle system too much in it. I think they could have refined that. I think seven, if they would have done 15 with seven remakes battle engine, I think it would have been such a stronger game.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I didn't care for 15's battle system either.
Yeah, when Tabitha came over, and a lot of this, I'm not gonna go into too much detail there. I do have a video on Final Fantasy. I named it Final Fantasy Versus 13, but it's basically what Final Fantasy 15 was supposed to be.
Demonetized.
Yeah, it is demonetized, so you can watch it. I don't get any credit for that, unfortunately, but hey, watch it. It's a good video, and that's why I kept it up. I didn't care if I got demonetized or not because it is more of a passion project than anything else. Uh, but like, the original combat was supposed to be more like Kingdom Hearts, which would definitely have been way more fun. Nomura helped design the Final Fantasy 7 remake because he was the head of Final Fantasy 7 remake, and he kind of designed that whole like battle system, and that's kind of how similar 15 was originally supposed to be. But like, Noctis as a character was just so much like so cool. Like, I love the whole thing where he can basically throw his weapon and then teleport to where his
Yeah, very
weapon
cool
is.
looking.
It's
Very
yeah,
cool
so
looking.
many
Yep.
cool things they had there. His crew, like, yeah, there's the make fun of, oh, it's a boy band or whatever, but like
Mhm.
his people are like really cool. He has literally his best
Yeah.
friend. He has
Mhm.
his basically his
Bodyguard.
bodyguard, right? And his
Mhm.
retainer. So he and they're really become like a family. And it's still a pretty strong story, I would say, because the ending does hit where there's that scene where you're at the campfire. Did you beat 15?
Yeah, I platinumed
Okay.
it.
Okay. So, I'm going to spoiler territory there, but like, there's a scene at the campfire, and I think till this day, people still argue whether, what's his name? Prompto, Gladios, and Ignis were actually there, where a lot of people say that they were dead already, because they died before. So a lot of people are still don't know if that is, and from what I understand of everything, they were dead. It was just Noctis, like, kinda in his head talking to everybody, being like, "Alright, here we go. I'm about to do the final battle." But they were already dead by that time, so he was on his own, which is why from there on out, he is solo, and there's nobody else who joins him until he fights, Arden. But, like, yeah, it's just wasted potential. It could have been so much better. The summons, I think it's the first time they did the summons more than just beings that could come out of nowhere. Because these summons were like real. They were, I think in the world of 15, they're gods, right? And they were beings that were still there. Like, after you beat them, yes, you can summon them, but they still existed outside of you just summoning them, which I thought was really, really awesome. 12, I think, was the only other one that kind of did that. And 10, the summons do have lore in 10, but it's not the same. 16
So you,
is
like,
really the
fight as
only
them
other
in
one.
10, don't you? Like,
Uh,
when you summon them, don't you, like, fight as them?
You do fight as them,
Mhm.
but like in intended, there's also lore of them, right? So like each like the little kid, right? You find out at the end of the game he's Bahamut, the little kid that's been talking to Titus the whole time. He keeps coming up to you. He's like, "Don't cry," and then he'll tell you to stop. It's
Oh, I didn't
things
know that
like
was
that.
Bahamut. I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
that was Bahamut the whole time. But like, because yes, they're summons, but they were also, I forgot what they were called. There were also people. So when you actually go to like the little like place where Yuna goes to pray, you'll see there's
They
like a
fight
body.
Spireflies, or is that what they were?
I don't no, they're not the little like things that glow around, but like
Oh,
when
okay.
you actually go there, so like for example, when you go to where Yuna gets Bahamut, you see the little boy is laying down in what looks like it's basically a tomb. And that's how you start seeing, oh, they have a human body, but then they turn into the Aeons in Final Fantasy X. But in the case of 15, it's kind of similar, like the train ride when you're in the snow area. Now, remember when somebody broke the camera so you can see outside, and you can see that Shiva's whole body was laying there, and that's where she died. So then there's like, you're in the snow area and Shiva's just laying there. But on the train ride, all you see is like Shiva's like from here on up. So for audio listeners, I was pointing from like the chest on to the top of the head. But I thought that was kind of cool because the summons were basically, again, living beings that when they died, or they died physically. So when Shiva died physically, and she was like on I guess they're not on Earth. I don't know what the name of the planet is, but they died on that planet and their body would stay there. But even though the body was there, Shiva was actually alive. Shiva was just in a different
Have
form. Mhm.
have you ever seen the Dune movies, the new ones?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay, I never saw Dune before the remake
Mhm.
that came out a few years ago. That was the first time I ever got exposed to it. I love those movies, like love them,
Mhm.
and I think that 15 kind of has some references to Dune, just as far as like you have this royal family that's very beloved, taken
Mhm.
over by or like attacked by this other family. The son
Yeah, that's
survives,
true.
vows to avenge them. I guess there isn't like a planet people that he aligns himself with like Dune, and there isn't like a spice like there is in Dune, but just like the
Yeah.
whole avenge father that's beloved by the people and all that kind of stuff. It's very
Yeah, I
Dune
see it.
inspired, which I like.
Yeah, definitely. I see that. But yeah,
Um,
15 was good.
15.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think what we should do is I think we should skip 16 because you're gonna finish it, and maybe we can talk about that next week, and we'll
Yeah.
do the final thoughts on that. And maybe we can just do a quick what we've been playing, and we can wrap it up.
Yep, let's do it. What have you been playing?
Okay.
Because I already said what I've been playing.
Yeah. So I've been on this third person kick like crazy. It's just like injected into my freaking veins. I think I mentioned it last week. I've been playing Resident Evil 4 from
Mhm. Did see that.
2023, I think it was. And I really want to get the platinum. I really do. I only have 4 trophies left to get the platinum. Two of them involve the shooting gallery, which I hear are a bear, but I think that I could do it if I practiced it enough. But then the other two are beating it on hardcore mode with an S plus rank and beating it on standard mode with an S plus rank. I started my standard run with an S plus rank, but
Mhm.
the whole thing about getting an S plus rank is that you have to beat it in a certain amount of time to get it. Nothing else factors into it. All that matters is how long it takes you to finish it. And for me, I get this thing in my head where it's like, well, it's a constant battle between collecting stuff to sell to upgrade your weapons, slash exploring, which takes up a ton of time to do, or just going point A to point B, which you can do, but then you're going to have a hell of a time beating the bosses and beating the enemies you need to finish. So that's why it's really overwhelming for me to go through this. Now, I
Mhm.
did do the trophy where I got an S ranking on professional, or there, I think there's some professional trophy. I think it's just like beating the game on professional, but I got to do that with New Game Plus. And when you do it with New Game Plus, you have the infinite primal knife, you have infinite rocket launcher, you have infinite hand cannon, you have infinite Chicago typewriter, and that makes getting the game done in 5.5 hours super easy because you literally just skip everything. You can skip every item you pick up, every gem, every enemy, just run right through it. And I beat the game, I think, in like 3 hours, 3 hours, 3.5 hours. But then when you play it for real and you have to like start getting ammo and stuff like that, that's where it starts to get a little bit more stressful. So I need to do a lot more studying before I really try to go for platinum on that. But I do want to do it because the Resident Evil 4 is immaculate. It's just so freaking good and it's just very addicting. The gameplay system's very addicting. Um, and then I picked up Control again. I finished Control a number of years
I
ago,
did
but I
see you
love
playing that.
Control.
Mhm.
Yeah, Control is so good, especially on PS5 Pro with the new PSSR. It looks beautiful. I forget sometimes how exceptional that game is. I like it so much more than Alan Wake 2. Like it's not even close. The combat is just so much more engaging and so much more satisfying. Like throwing crap at people and like telekinesis and like the only thing I really don't like about Control is I think the map kind of sucks. I wish that it had more detail, like a Resident Evil 4 map
Mhm.
or like a Metroid Prime map, because the game is deep enough where it would warrant having a Metroid Prime map because it's very like not only is it left and right, but it's very tall and
Yeah.
there's lots of different doors with different security clearances you have to go through, and it's like, well, where the hell was the level 2 door from when I first started playing 6 hours ago? And it's like, well, how is there's nothing on the map to mark that. You just kind of just have to like go explore. And I think the game is too big to really do that realistically without spending just so much time on it. And then I also started playing Returnal again.
I
I
saw
kind
that
of
too.
dropped it for a while, but I went back to it. That game, the gameplay. Have you played Returnal?
I did. I was playing co-op and I've been wanting to play it
Okay.
co-op again. Mhm.
Okay, maybe we'll do that someday. But the third person shooting in that game is just so damn good. It
Mhm.
is so satisfying. The only thing that I don't like about Returnal, and it's something that I kind of have against roguelikes in general, is just the lack of progress feeling.
Yeah.
where it's like you die and you have to go all the way back. And Returnal does this thing that I like where it doesn't take you too long to get you back to where you were, but the more of a shortcut you take to get back to where you were, the less time you spend building yourself up. And so when you get to where you just were, if you haven't spent a lot of time like building yourself up, you're gonna have a rough time in the third biome or whatever. But just the gameplay is just so fast. It's so frenetic. It has
Yeah.
awesome melee. The way the dual sense feels, like the haptic feedback of the dual sense, that's the best it's ever been implemented. Maybe that and Astrobot. Those are the
Are you
best
using the
two.
DualSense or the Edge?
Dual sense.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have the Edge anymore. But the best uses of haptics are with that game and with Astrobot. And so like it kind of reminds me of Dark Souls in a way, even though I never really have gotten super into Dark Souls because I get frustrated with it. But it's like I got to the second boss of the game in this Red Mountain place or something like that, and I died like 3 times at him,
Mhm.
and the third time he literally had like no life left. I was so upset that I lost this fight because he had like two more shots and he'd been dead. But then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it this time. I know the patterns. I'm gonna beat him. And so I just spent like a little bit to build myself up, went and fought him, and I beat him, and I beat him pretty handily. Like I had maybe like a little less than half my life left, and I had a like a ostensibly like a phoenix down where if I would have died, I would have come back right away and I could have kept fighting him. So no matter what, I was gonna beat him pretty much. But it was very rewarding to die all those times to him, and then I beat him handily the last time. But that's a very underrated game. I think a lot more people should play it. And the reason that I did play it is because Saros is coming out in a few weeks, and I know I sent it to you that
Yeah.
deal that Cash App had, where if you spent up to $100, you get $50 back. That's
Yeah.
expired now. But I used that to get Saros. I got the special edition for $40 because it's $80 game.
Yeah.
I got it for $40, which that's incredible. It's coming out. It's a brand new release. I got it for $40. Like, are you kidding me? I'll be all over that. So I took advantage of that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been playing, and that's what I'm gonna be playing for the foreseeable future. I did pick up Dragon Quest 7 again, Dragon Quest 7 Reimagined.
On
I'm at the
PS5?
part
Oh,
no on
you picked
PC.
it up. I thought you meant you like bought it
No, no,
again.
like I
Sorry.
picked it up again. Like
Yeah.
I'm playing it again. And I'm at the part where you can change job roles, and
Nice.
this is kind of the thing that makes me put down games because it's like, okay, there's like 10 different job roles to pick. Like I know I'm gonna pick the wrong one for this character, and then I'm gonna get to a boss fight where I'll get annihilated, and I'll look in some strategy guide. Well, why the heck did you choose this job role for this person? It's like, well, because you guys just told me to choose anything. Like what
Yeah.
goes into this decision? So I need to just kind of suck it up and do that too. And also, last I'll mention too. Do you remember the game Little or the movie Little Nemo, the Dream Master? It was like an anime movie from like the early '90s, or maybe it was late
Mm,
'80s.
I don't, not the top of my head. Maybe if I take a look at it, I'll remember. Let me see.
Okay. Um, I think it was called Little Nemo, the Dream Master. Very iconic. It was probably the first, like one of the first anime I'd ever seen, and they came out. It was an NES game actually too that came out based on the movie, and it was made by Capcom. It's a very good game. They released another Little Nemo game, and I bought it
Mm.
on Steam. It's called Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland, I want to say, or something like that. And I started playing that. It's a Metroidvania. It's absolutely gorgeous. Like if you look it up on YouTube, it is a beautifully rendered 2D game. I started playing it and I have enjoyed it. The only thing though is it crashes on Steam Deck. Like you go like two screens to the left and it just crashes right away.
Mm.
So I'm hoping that they release some fixes because it seems like a perfect Steam Deck game. I can't believe it can't run it. It's 2D, but it does crash. So maybe one day they'll release a fix for it. But I'm enjoying that too. So that's pretty much what I've been playing.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of it. I've never seen it. No, I
Oh,
haven't.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
It's
the
on YouTube
NES
for
game
free if you ever want
rings
to check
up.
it out.
Yeah, I probably will. Let's see. Yeah, me, I've only been playing Final Fantasy 16. Like I mentioned earlier, I got to the part fighting I beat Ultima and then or at least I thought it'd be Ultima, but then now he's like at in the middle of the map on this giant crystal thing. So
So are you
probably
in the hideout right now with like
hmm
with your brother and Jill and stuff? Okay, yeah. So you're
yeah,
about to go to the final battle. This last part's so freaking epic. It's so good.
nice. Is so do I have to do is it like a dungeon run and then the boss or is it
No,
just straight boss
nope.
fight?
It is straight boss. That's it.
All right, cool. That's what I was hoping for. Like I probably could have beat it yesterday, but like I was like, I don't know if there's a dungeon before
You didn't
this. I'm not
know?
gonna
Yeah.
start it. Yeah, so I'll definitely beat it. I will say this, like to add a little bit on 16, I I really do like the story in the world. it's just like I hate the little things in between the big story beats. They're like towards the end of the game, you don't really have those little things anymore, which is nice. It's kind of like just straight story, which I enjoy. But it's still really, really like fun. Like I really do like 16's world. And
Don't go too
then
deep into it. We're gonna wait till you finish it.
yeah, we'll wait. But like I enjoy it. Yeah, I've been using fun fact. I've been using the Final Fantasy 3 sword. I don't know how I got it. Or maybe those
Probably some
free or
like
something like that.
DLC or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But I've been using that. I was like, "Oh, this is cool. I'll have that." But yeah, I like it. I enjoy it. We'll see. I'll be done with it tonight probably, and then next
Cool.
podcast we'll talk about it
We'll
before,
we'll dive into it.
any
Yeah, and then
major.
hopefully Fan and Ash will be here. I think Ash finished it, so we can
Yeah.
definitely rap about it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, that leads us to the end of the podcast. I appreciate everybody for joining. We actually had
Yeah, lots of audience interaction. I like that.
yeah, exactly. It was really fun. Of course, it's Final Fantasy, so I guess it's one of those things kind of to be expected. But
Yep.
yeah, I do appreciate you guys for joining. And as always, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Follow over on Twitch if you're also on Twitch as well. I will be back Friday with some more Eternal Darkness, and then
Eternal
of course
Darkness.
Sunday,
Love it.
we'll have the podcast. So I think I'm getting close. I was fighting the boss. I don't know if you saw that. I was fighting the boss, one of the bosses in Eternal Darkness, and it killed me like 5 times, and I gave up. I was like, you know what? I'm too tired. I was very
Was
tired
it the giant
on
one that
Friday.
squishes the guy?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
you
that
have to
guy.
use. Did you use the Mantarok attack on it? That's how I beat it.
Well, yeah, I kept trying to. Well, I was using like the I got the 6 point spell
Hmm.
thing,
Hmm.
and it's just like I couldn't find an opening. I just
Couldn't
keep
get it
getting
off.
hit. Yeah, I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
this is getting me
Look
angry.
up a strategy guide or something, or look it up on YouTube or something.
Yeah, I probably will. We'll see. I'm gonna give it another try before I look it up and see. I was also very tired, so like I was just getting more annoyed than anything. I'm like, you know what? I don't got time for this.
Watch,
So
you'll
I
beat
just
it on the
try.
first try next time.
That's usually how that works, right? It's
That's usually how it
like,
goes. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I'll be back Friday, and then Sunday, of course, we'll be back with the podcast. Yeah. So, anyways, thank you, Brian. Where can I catch you at?
I'm at red_so_deep on Twitter and Blue Sky.
Yep. And as always, you can catch me right here at the Random Encounter. Catch you guys next week. Take care.